But gentlemen, welcome to the pod. Welcome to the pod. I thank you guys for joining me tonight.
Thanks.
We all shared a special moment this Friday, and and we're here to talk about. Every time I see any Batman movie, man, it's a special moment in history. At least for me. So I guess what I'll do is, all right, Dice, you good? Everyone's good. Copy. All right. So as I said, Friday night we all went to the movies to celebrate Q's birthday. Q, let's give you a little special shout out real quick about the solo your screen.
Thank you.
Looking fresh to death. Looking fresh to death.
You know what I'm saying?
I got my Riddler outfit on.
Man, yeah, my guy got on the Riddler. Nah, that's funny. When you said that, I didn't even see the blazer, man. You was killing me with that. I was like, oh, my man got on the velvet blazer.
Everyone green velvet, baby. I had to come dressed for my man. I had to look my best.
Yo, my guy. Nah, I got to give you solo screen, man. But yes, it's basically
also
your birthday,
it's
man.
Sunday.
Today's
Sunday? My birthday. Today's my actual birthday.
Oh, it's your actual birthday. Oh, all right.
Yeah, the 6th. That's right.
Oh, my man,
That's
right
it, baby.
here. He came on. I said, my guy got on the Green Lantern in the back. I said,
that's it, baby.
But anyway, let's dive right into what we here for, man. So I tried to break it down as best as I could, but again, you guys feel free to, we can mix it up. There's gonna be things that someone misses, so somebody could clean up after somebody. But basically, we're here to review the Batman. And let me put all of this in here. Sorry, guys, I'm in my little technical difficulty here. So I thought I would break it down from obviously the beginning of the movie, the end of the movie, and all of that in the middle. But there was one part I was thinking about was the casting, because that was like a conversation for the movie in general, ever since, Robert Patterson got casted for the role, and, obviously everyone else for the Penguin, Catwoman, and all of these things. So I thought it would be fitting to kind of just start there and, sort of get your guys' take on how did you feel about the casting? Did you feel everyone fit their roles perfectly? Did they do a good job? Could there have been someone better casted for a certain role? So what do you guys think? Or who would like to start, I guess?
I think the thing that a lot of people had worries about when this first started was someone like Robert Pattinson taking on this role. Worried a lot of people because he comes in with that stereotype of being from, what is it? Is it Twilight. He came from Twilight, and that worried a lot of people. Kind of like the same way that Ben Affleck worried a lot of people when he got cast for that last set of Batman movies. But very much like how a lot of these studios have been doing, they've been going to these super big time, really, really talented actors to play these classic American superheroes, and selecting Robert Pattinson, especially for this super dramatic role, was proven to be a great decision. He did a fantastic job, especially for how moody and tortured this Batman was aiming to be. I thought he did fantastically.
Absolutely. I have to agree with that. Who I was, I don't think the only person that that I felt was sort of questionable was the Riddler, right? Because Riddler has a certain persona that goes with him. He wears the suits with the question marks, and he's supposed to have like a sort of, he's supposed to be slick.
Supposed to be funny.
Yeah, funny, So when I saw who they casted for it, I just couldn't. I saw the nerdiness aspect to it because obviously he's a genius and he loves riddles and puzzles and all of that. But I just felt like maybe Riddler is a little bit more in shape than that. Is a little taller. Just the way that he's been depicted in the comics or any animated Batman movies you've seen or just in real life Batman movies. We'll mention it with George Clooney. I said with George Clooney with you guys know what I'm talking about, with Two-Face, Riddler.
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. I just forgot.
Yeah.
Was it Val Kilmer? Val Kilmer was the Batman at that point?
Yeah, Val Kilmer was the Batman. Yeah, it was the Batman, that one.
So, that was just a little questionable for me, obviously with the black leather mask. But I understand they were digging from a different source at this point. But overall, I think everyone, in terms of casting, they nailed almost everybody. But again, Riddler was the only one I was really sort of like, why is he wearing the leather mask and things like that. But other than that, I think they did a fantastic job with everybody.
You know what I didn't realize, right? Throughout the movie, the Penguin's character was Colin Farrell was playing the Penguin.
That was great.
I did not, I could not see it, and I was trying to figure out who he was, and then I later looked up I had to look up the cast, and I was like, wait, that was Colin Farrell?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow. Listen, whoever did the makeup for that, kudos to you guys, because that nailed it. You nailed it. You nailed it 100%. I could not see Colin Farrell in that face at all. And then now, I'm going to have to go back and watch it again and pay specific attention to the Penguin and be like, wait, hold on, that is Colin Farrell. Get out of here. But that's great. That was a great makeup job on him. Great makeup job.
Another important part when it comes to casting is just trying to get chemistry to work, especially in a movie like this where so many of the characters are sharing the screen all at the same time. And with Robert Pattinson being the main character, he has great chemistry with Zoe Kravitz, but he also had great chemistry with Commissioner Gordon. Or I guess he's Detective Gordon there. Every time those two were on the screen together, they worked together so well. They played off of each other fantastically. Really enjoyed that as well.
Like the buddy cop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Q, did you have anyone that you was? Oh no, go ahead. Sorry about that.
No. I was gonna piggyback off what Shelly said. He was right. Jeffrey Wright. If you've seen Jeffrey Wright, you already know Jeffrey Wright is the man. Yep. So when they said he was going to play Detective Gordon or whatever he is, it's going to be magic. Right? I didn't have any problems with actual Robert Pattinson, because if you watch Robert Pattinson since Twilight, bro, he stole the show in Tenet, and I thought Tenet was underrated as hell.
He was great.
Yeah, he did a really good job, and he showed that he grew. If you watch The Lighthouse, he plays this very broody, weird character alongside with Willem Dafoe, and you could tell that this guy has grown. So I know people had their qualms with sparkly vampire guy with the frosted blonde tips, but I'm like, yeah, he's way past that. Looking at Paul Dano, who was the Riddler, I had some reservation, but this is the guy that played the opposite to Willem. What's his name? Daniel Day-Lewis. There Will Be Blood. Remember, he was Daniel Day-Lewis's main opposition, and that kid can act. So
yeah,
I think what Amo or maybe Shelby was saying. Oh, Shelby was saying earlier when these studios they take their time and they actually invest in really good actors, forget about it. You're gonna get a good performance. You're gonna get a fantastic performance. So I was thoroughly surprised. And Colin Farrell, not that anybody stole the show, but if anybody did steal the show because they did such a good job, he stole it. He stole it a little bit. He did a very good job.
Yep.
The thing that's so hard to do with these kind of iconic characters who've been on the big screen before is when you put them back on the big screen, everyone's going into the movie with some kind of recollection of the last person to do that. So the hardest thing to do is to bring in this new actor playing the same character, but then to also make the character different enough where they're still recognizable, but not constantly reminding you of the last person to play it. And while Robert Pattinson, I came into the movie still having Christian Bale in the back of my head and Val Kilmer and all those guys in the back of my head. And that first opening scene, that first opening set, right, where they bring him out and you see him for the first time, it immediately got rid of every other Batman in my head because I've never had a movie start like that before. It's arguably probably the greatest start to any Batman movie we've ever seen. And it's not over the top. It's not doing anything crazy with explosions. It's all about setting a mood and and setting an environment and then capitalizing on that, putting Batman almost as a set piece. Gotham, this also might be the best Gotham we've ever seen either. As well. This 100%. Is a fantastic Gotham, and he's 100%. Almost a set piece in Gotham. He works with it so well. But to go back to the Riddler, everyone remembers Jim Carrey. It's such a iconic performance, and to then take this new guy and make him such a different character altogether. And it's less about being a criminal, less about the riddles, and more about the fact that he was a psychotic madman who was murdering people at his own whim with his own sense of justice. That's a total reinvention of the Riddler, not one we've seen before, especially not on the big screen at least. And that gave the character room to breathe, which was fantastic.
But I think what you see now, Shelby, with all the newer DC, going back just to Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, they're trying to go for more, because I feel like this Batman was the closest thing I could compare it to was that movie, because you had characters rooted squarely in reality, right? Mm-hmm. And not this over the top like zaniness that you have in like the Joker and the Riddler, Jim Carrey, which is great, and don't get me wrong, that has its place because that was comic books but over the past like two plus decades, like comics have really, like all the comic book fans that were kids have grown up, and now they're like, so as grown-ups, we want to see more grown-up themes. We want to like kind of explore that, and I think Nolan did best when he started that whole lineup with Heath Ledger and whatnot, and you see how like it's like the characters now again rooted right in reality. These are the guys that you would see, the so quote unquote incels or whatever, or the guy that has a axe to grind.
Something with Joker.
Yes, exactly. When you see the beginning, it makes sense. It's like, okay, cool. I think this Batman out of all made sense, like to the point where like even like you said, Shelley, hands down the best Gotham, hands down. The closest Gotham would be Batman Begins, right? But, with just the way it looked like a city that was like failing. Because I know they shot it in Chicago, from what I hear, and it looks like it's just a city that couldn't get out of its way and that was just dying. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, I think that Gotham. I think they got the model from if you watch the series Gotham. It's similar. It's the similar. The map is similar. Because Gotham in comics is basically Staten Island. That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? If you look at it, the map is well thought out. All the semblances to the New York staples. Gotham Square Garden. Even the Empire State Building is right there in the middle of Gotham City. And people would think it's the Chrysler, but the Chrysler doesn't light up at the top. That's ours. That's New York. Gotham is New York City. As far as like the casting wise, casting was amazing. Kudos to Matt Reeves, the director, and Peter Craig, who also did like The Town. He did Bad Boys. He did what was the other one? Hunger Games. The intro, like you said, Shells. The intro is it definitely sold you on the. It kept you there. And without that intro, I think we would have all had the same review. Like, oh God, they butchered Batman again. Come on, how could the world's greatest detective, or like I like to say the greatest hero in comic book overall, man. Like everybody has superpowers and everything. The man is a human, and he has ingrained in him, like he has that thing where, as human beings, like the will to survive is dominant. Like that is the characteristic that we all share, the will to survive. you know, and he persists and he continues to persist no matter the obstacle in his way, man. Batman is by far, dude, yeah, if you can't say the greatest of all time, you know, he's up there. He's definitely up there.
So much of what Batman is as a character is dependent on the people who he's around. So people like Iron Man or Superman, they're so powerful, or they're so self-sufficient alone that you can almost put them anywhere. And as long as Iron Man's still rich and he still has that suit, he's still pretty much the same character. As long as Superman is still powered by the sun, he's still pretty much the same character. Batman is so dependent on everyone who is around him. He can be a great father figure if you put him with the Robins. He can be someone who's got a bit of a Stockholm syndrome with his relationship with the Joker. He can be someone who is someone who's a technical mastermind because of his relationship with Lucas. You know, so much of what he is dependent on the people around him. And in this movie, this guy he has a bit of a frayed relationship with Alfred, so he's not necessarily fully healed yet. He's still super young. I think he's in his mid-20s. I think he's like 27. So he has a frayed relationship with Alfred. You can see how he's yearning for some kind of connection and closeness with someone by his immediate connection with Catwoman, played by Zoe Kravitz. Their immediate on-screen chemistry. They're both yearning for something. There, and even how he almost becomes possessed by the Riddler goes back to some of his childhood trauma. His close relationship with Commissioner Gordon in this movie signals to his need for some kind of a father figure or another close relationship. He is really, really tortured. He is really, really tortured in this movie, and you can see that he's not necessarily pushing away affection. He's just not really sure on how to get it. And even when you work towards the end of the movie, when he comes to the realization as to what he has to become for his city, he jumps into that role. He isn't reluctant to it. It's almost what he was always looking for, in a sense.
Absolutely. And I mean, all of you guys are like nailing so much. Dice, I know you didn't get to see the movie yet, but he doesn't really care about anything being spoiled. So you know, he got the spoiler alerts. He got the spoiler alerts.
Can we spoil it? Can we spoil?
No, wait, don't spoil it, man. Like we definitely could speak in a manner that won't, you know, mess it up.
We destroying it. We destroying it. Yeah, we're destroying
about that last scene. When we get there, we have to talk about that last scene.
Yo, I'm a purist, man. I want everybody to experience it the way we experienced it, man.
Yeah, I know. It's a special moment.
We all knew what we were getting into when we got here.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, you're right, man.
But I figured this is like the one subject he could touch on cleanly. We were just talking about like the casting and just trying to figure out, not figuring out, but what was your take on who they got for the parts? Do you agree with the parts? Was there anyone that you had like reservations on? Like, obviously a lot of it was like Robert Patterson and things like that, but did you feel like they casted everyone well, or? Oh, your mic is muted. I just realized that.
I didn't see it. I didn't. No.
Oh no! I was just asking about the casting aspect. Like, do you feel like they did a good job on picking their Batman, their Catwoman, their Penguins, their Riddlers, their Commissioner Gordons?
Honestly, I would have to see it from based upon what I was saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to certain people, especially the conversation. I want to see how they did that, because that makes a huge difference in any movie. You know what I mean? If they can dress them up and have them look in a certain way where it's like it exceeds what you thought it would be. You know what I mean? And the fact that it's pulling people out of what they actually look like, it's not always done that good with all movies. Sometimes they focus heavily on the main character. So to hear that they went that detailed, I mean, it goes to show that whoever sat there and shot this movie, they put their best in it, and the people that they sat there and put the cast in. As far as I see, they're great actors. So I don't see a problem with it being any type of issue, unless it's like what I was saying about what's his name, the Riddler. That would be the only thing I probably would get. Like, wait, what? I can't tell he's the Riddler? You always can kind of tell it's the Riddler, dude. Like, green, he's not noticeable, the question marks everywhere. But as far as the main characters, I think that they picked really, really good actors, like people who dive into their roles, not just kind of like be the face of a role, but they can be a cast member and still make whatever position that they play in a movie fantastic. So I'm looking forward to it.
They definitely did a great job. And again, guys, he doesn't really care if we spoil anything. He's still gonna go and watch it and enjoy it the same way. So
yeah, I'm still going. I'm a Batman fan, dude. I don't give a hell what happens. I'm seeing that movie, man. Seeing that movie.
Look, man.
Yo, you gotta see it in IMAX, though, bro. It's fire in IMAX.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the RDX, the chairs throwing you about to throw you.
Oh yeah.
When you gotta look around when you hear sounds like, oh shit.
Hey Jimmy, can I ask a question?
Yeah, what's up?
I wanted to ask a casting question, and it's it's to obviously it's to the panel, but I wanted to ask everybody who their favorite character was in this movie. Since we're talking about casting.
Wow, you put me on the spot here. You want to know what? Wow, why you had to do that? To be honest,
this is what we're here for, right?
Yeah. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Obviously, it's too easy just to say Batman. I am a heavy Batman fan. But I must say the Commissioner Gordon aspect.
Yes.
I loved how they picked up on like their real relationship. Obviously, this is the movie is based in his year 2, and they really nail their relationship at the beginning. Before he was commissioner, and he can just have Batman is here. You can't say nothing. He had to really put himself out there for Batman. You get what I'm saying? Like really take the heat and be like, hey, man, he's here with me, and and he took a lot of flack for that. And I think just to see Commissioner Gordon in that youth and sort of like scheme with Batman on certain things, and basically always putting his job on the line. So for me, I think Commissioner Gordon really did it for me. The Penguin is close. And I guess we'll talk about, because there were certain scenes where I was like, they and to go back to what you were saying, Ammo, I completely forgot who they casted as the Penguin. I knew who they casted for the Penguin, but when I started watching the movie, I completely forgot about him. I'm just like, who is this guy? And I said, I'll look later.
You were watching the Penguin.
The makeup work was crazy, but I have to say, between the characters, I mean, Penguin is giving Jim Gordon a little run for his money too. But those two, I feel, if anything, because to see again, and we speak about the Riddler, and we talk about how iconic he was, obviously, because he was already in a cinematic universe. Anyway, we can't forget about the Penguin and Catwoman, obviously. And my first time seeing the Penguin, I remember my mom took me to the movies. And it's crazy, I must have been like 8 or 7. And, you're not supposed to remember anything from that age. Well, you are, but, my mom took me to see that movie specifically. And I always tell her like, yo, thank you. Whenever a Batman movie comes out, I always call her after the fact just to speak to her, because, taking me to see that movie, I don't know what made her do it, because she's not into that stuff. But, I just remember seeing Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yes.
I'm not going to butcher the Penguin's name. I know who he is.
Danny DeVito?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I don't know why that was leaving me. But, Danny DeVito I always felt was perfect for this role because he's short. It was easy to make him like a little chubby. They gave him the flippers for the hands. They did everything so perfect. So I wanted to see what the new Penguin looked like in today's age. And they really did a good job. And he played the role very well. Damn. I'm a little conflicted.
Who is it? You gotta pick one, brother.
You know what? I'm gonna leave the Penguin for someone else. I'm gonna go with Commissioner Gordon because he did a good job. I love that they showed their actual chemistry. You understand why later on the Batman grows to love him as family. You get what I'm saying? I think they really elaborated on it. It's not just like, hey, he lets me be Batman. It's like, hey, I got your back. I'm willing to put my career on the line, for you. I'm willing to take a bullet for you. So, that was sort of Commissioner Gordon.
What about you, Shelly? What do you think?
So much of their on-screen relationship with Commissioner Gordon and Batman is it's very obvious that they have hope in each other, or they have faith with each other, but they're not necessarily fully intertwined as they will be later on. It's still the very early stages of relationship, and they're very much almost pleasantly surprised with what the other person is turning into. There was some great casting choices. The guy who played Marconi,
Totori, what was his name?
John Turturro.
John Turturro.
Yeah, he was great. He was great.
Turturro, yeah. Excellent.
But if I was to choose a favorite, it's not to be basic, but I really, really did enjoy Robert Pattinson. Especially because he again, for us to know of all the Batmans that have ever existed, for him to come in and then fully implants himself with his own identity is a truly impressive job. But also they've taken a tack on, like one of you guys said earlier, of getting these super, super talented actors to play, honestly, children's characters, to play these superhero characters. He did a great job. Even if you go back to the young man who plays Spider-Man now, Tom Holland, they go and they get these super, super classically trained actors to play these, again, children's characters, and they bring so much to the role. It's put in conjunction with the fantastic writing, the great directing, and that acting performance comes through by showing the layer and the depth. That scene where it is the longest time we get to see him out of the Batsuit and away from being Batman, but still very much doing Batman work, when he shows up to the funeral of the politician, and he's in that hall, he's being recognized, and he's not doing billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne. Yeah. He's very, very almost sheepish. He shies away from the attention. People recognize him, and he doesn't necessarily lean into it. He's very much trepidatious on even being touched or being praised. It's not a role that he's comfortable with. And if you go from there to then where that scene ends before he dons the Batman suit, with him leaping into saving that young boy from that car that comes ramming in there, he leaps into action immediately. And the ability to pull off both those things and make both of those things believable, for him to be both sheepish and shy away from the attention that he's getting as Bruce Wayne, but then as soon as danger enters the scene, for him to jump into the immediate role of saving that young boy is a very hard range to pull off, and he did both of those fantastically.
Yeah, no, that's a, speaking of that, that little boy was very important in that movie, and I know you guys saw that from, you know what, we might as well get right into it, breaking down the movie right here. So,
we didn't get to Almo's favorite character yet.
Oh yeah.
Listen, you ain't got to ask me, man. You know what I'm saying? No, I saw my future wife. She did her thing. You know what I'm saying? She was great. You know what I'm saying? Zoe Kravitz, if you out there.
Bro,
you know what I'm saying?
I thought that was my future wife. What the hell?
I'm shooting my shot now.
She's great.
Now listen.
She'd be lucky to have you.
Listen, it's year 2, right? So a lot of the characters we meet in year 2 they're still new. Remember, Batman is still learning how to be a crime fighter. Selena Kyle is pretty much young too. This is before what I'm starting to realize with the DC movies, because I watched the series as well, and I was into the comics before. The problem is that they're starting to mesh, the origins and New Earth 52, Earth 52, which is Yeah, after all of the Earths are wiped out, there's only one Earth left, and all of the heroes' origin stories all change. So even Selena Kyle's story changes, and the plot twists in the movie. I'm not throwing nothing away. Does coincide with the Selena Kyle in this movie, but it's actually a different character who's the dad. A different mob boss is the dad. But as far as the costume, yes, that's that you can tell, like she hasn't gotten, she's not into her character yet. She's still a small time robber. She's not developed. Like we're so used to seeing because Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, that was a great origin story. That was it was a great origin story. We saw the recluse, woman that, was traumatized and somehow survived the tragic fall, and boom, the 9 lives theory came into effect. We didn't get to really see that with Selena Kyle in this, with Zoe in this one, but we did see, the young girl who's, figuring out, okay, what do I want to do with life? Am I really a crook? Oh no, but I'm working in this, environment that's full of criminals and people doing, all these things underneath Gotham's nose. But yeah, definitely, Catwoman was my favorite character in this movie for sure.
She very much plays the catalyst a lot of times for Batman. She is the one who is constant. Like, she's not necessarily focused on him. She's focused on her friend, and she's focused on B, some kind of vengeance against her father.
Yes.
She's the one who's always pushing Batman. Batman's always like, maybe we should lay back, and then she goes, "No, we got to go now." Always ramping. Yep. They're providing a balance for each other there in that movie. And she's the one who's operating with a sense of urgency, while Batman is more than okay lurking in the background and being more patient with some of these things. Q, did you say who was your favorite casting choice?
Oh, no, I didn't. Don't get me wrong. I think everybody answered fantastically. I agree with Amo. I think Michelle Pfeiffer is like the best Catwoman of all time. But with this Zoe Kravitz, I think if they do what I think they're gonna do with her in the next couple of stories, she's gonna be hands down the best, because her character is fantastic. She wasn't just some little 90-pound chick knocking around 300-pound guys. She got just as good as she gave. She was getting wrecked. It was like realistic. I thought Jim Gordon, him and Batman was great. I think Penguin stole it a little bit. But if I had to choose one character, and it's not necessarily a character, but to me, it was like a character within itself. But the whole Gotham City was my favorite character, because you finally got to feel like you were in Gotham City. There were parts in the movie where I just forgot that I was in the movie theater, because I'm like, yo, I'm in this world. I feel like, yo, this shit feels hopeless, And this dude, he's like, I'm here 2 years, and you see him, he's busting his ass. He's like taking notes. What do you call it? Because like every day bleeds into the next day. As a guy that's been a night owl for years, I understand that. Like, after a while, like, you don't know what day it is. You're like, oh man, what day is it? It's like, because you're just up all night, and there's something about him, and I guess I would say the music also, even though that doesn't count, but like the music was a character in itself. Bro, listen, Giacchino he's the best for a reason, right? He's the best for a reason, because those themes, it just like made you feel like it was ratcheting it up. It was so good. Everything about that, like the feel of that place, I was like, that's like my ultimate favorite character.
Gotham City. You guys keep hitting on a key thing that's very important, right? Because I heard you mention it with Catwoman, right? And the comparison between obviously Michelle Pfeiffer, right, and Zoe Kravitz. Obviously the first one, it's a little different because there's a supernatural origin, because technically she died. And all those cats, and all those cats doing whatever they were doing to her gave her.
I forgot that.
She actually died. Yeah, and she actually got cat power, just like Halle Berry. They actually got
pussy power, bro.
Yeah, you stupid. But she actually got powers and abilities that enabled her to do one thing that was sort of missing for Zoe was that origin story, because obviously we see her, right? But where did you learn how to fight like that? Where did you know what I'm saying? They didn't really, I mean, obviously it's not meant to be an order, but they kind of gave everyone sort of like a, hey, this is why I am the way that I am, and this is why, you know. So I hope in the future movies they kind of sort of dive into her a little bit more, like you know, like where the hell did you learn that? Because your mom, you know, she worked at this club.
Well,
you know, I just
in a place as tough as Gotham City, you can always just lean back on her acrobatics, being on some kind of gymnast. But the fighting, you know, if she didn't have any connect, because like she was super proficient and so skilled that's not something you learn on the streets. She was a lot rougher around the edges in her fighting style. She is super technical, really flexible, really technical with how she fights in that movie. So that does deserve some kind of explanation. Yes.
Yes. You saw the plot armor for Batman.
Batman isn't necessarily that technical. They go through Batman Begins. A big part of Batman Begins is showing how Christian Bale gets to be that proficient of a fighter.
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson is not a proficient fider in this movie. He's not a technical fighter. He just hits hard. He takes a lot of bullets. He just punches. That is all. There's a scene in that movie towards the end where he's just swinging a rifle, just hitting people in the head. He is not a proficient fighter at all.
Not the way that she is. And
not at all.
But you notice the plot armor, right? Because obviously the scene, you know, everyone saw the scene where Catwoman is fighting Batman and she can't even land a finger on him. But for some reason, she's like smoking everybody else. But I'm like, she can't even, he's dodging everything effortlessly too. You know, so, but you know, we already here.
But also it's one-on-one. It's one-on-one. Like Batman on like 5 dudes, 10 dudes. No, you're right. There is a bit of plot armor, but also they set it up so that it wasn't too plot armory. Can I say that?
Yeah. Well, I don't think that either one of them entered that first fight with the intention to hurt or, I guess, kill the other. So they were both able to take it off a little bit. Are we gonna move to the beginning of the movie now, Jimmy? Because
introduction, by the
way. Listen.
When it comes to like that beginning of that movie, like I said before, everyone's coming in. We've all seen a handful, if not close to a dozen Batman movies. And yes, you do get introduced to Batman, but like you said, you're also in those first few scenes introduced to probably one of the best characters in that movie, Gotham City. It's not just one scene, it's not just one person. You are hopping around on like 3 or 4 different groups of people. The gang on the train, the guy who's spray painting. The guy who's spray painting. There's a bunch of crime going on. There's robberies, and you're hopping around to all of them, seeing the state of Gotham City, and it's dark and it's gritty, and it's not that Batman shows up everywhere. It's not that symbol shining in the sky is meant for him to come get you, who's just spray painting or doing some petty theft inside a grocery store. Right?
On the corner,
Right. It's not for that. The fantastic line in that beginning of that, while he is doing the voiceover work, by the way, is fantastic. We've never seen that before by Batman, but it really sets the mood.
Yes.
The voiceover work is super fantastic. And what happens is the line, you guys can help me if you remember this better than I do, but he goes, if everyone fears me, if everyone is scared that I'm lurking in the shadows, then I'm no longer Batman. I am actually the shadows. I'm every shadow that you see. And he's not there. He doesn't show up for the guy who's robbing the place. He's not showing up for the guy. He didn't show up for the guy who's robbing the store. He didn't show up for the guy who was spray painting. He didn't show up for the other guy who I think was robbing someone. But they're all scared. He's not there. They don't know he's there. They do the same shot with every dark alley or every dark hallway where they're scared of that, and he doesn't show up. He only shows up in one group, and he shows up for the group of gang members who were trying to rob that man when he got off the train. And that is a phenomenal beginning, just showing at how he is omnipresent, where he doesn't necessarily have to be there for him to be there. And it opens up with that scene with his fantastic theme song. That is a great theme song. That is a great theme song.
Michael Giacchino, man.
Right. And
Giacchino's the best.
They didn't use that even. They didn't use it in his action sets. They used it as almost an entrance. It is accompanying Batman when he enters a scene. So that first time you see him, that's the first time you hear that theme. He's walking out of the shadows. They do a great job with the heavy steps that he's doing as he's walking outside of the shadows. And he appears, and we've all seen the scene. It's the scene from the trailer, but it's given so much of a better impact and such a much heftier weight to it because of the setting work that they did. It goes on for like 3 or 4 minutes where they're just setting up his actual first appearance. And despite all of us seeing that scene where he punches that guy and he says, "I'm vengeance," we've all seen that, but the 4 minutes that they put before that just put it in a whole different light. It's a fantastic beginning to a Batman movie, arguably the best beginning to a Batman movie we've ever seen.
100% the best beginning. The next would be the opening to The Dark Knight with the Joker, with all the Jokers. Like, that's excellent. But yeah, I'm telling you, like, the way they ratchet, that music ratchets up the anxiety and like the build up. Like, you could feel like, yo, it's about to go down. This place is dangerous. Anything could happen. It's like the tension is fantastic. I loved it. Absolutely, hands down the best.
And like I said before, immediately sets him apart from every other Batman that existed. And that sometimes that takes an hour or two to do in some of these movies, right? Yeah. It takes an hour or two to do, and they did it within 4 or 5 minutes of this movie starting. They immediately set him aside, set him apart from every other Batman. That voiceover work is it's all these things coming together. It's the character, it's the voiceover, it's the music, it's the entrance, it's the setting, and all of it comes together to crescendo into him coming out of the shadows. And again, super well done. I can't say enough about it.
The beginning of that movie, like you said, it already told me, like, listen, this is not Ben Affleck's Batman. This is not Christian Bale's. This is not Michael Keaton. This is not Val Kilmer. This is complete a different energy, a different vibe. And like you said, I think that voiceover, especially where you're going through Gotham City, and he's like talking you through things, and he's like, I walk among them, but I'm watching, and you see him in his normal getup with a hoodie, just walking around and really just on the ground. Obviously, later in his career, he's on rooftops watching you, but he's really on the ground, really learning and lurking and actually watching different crimes. And I almost feel like he was trying to choose which one is most important to sort of target, because he's like, there's so, like you said, he said he can't be everywhere. However, when that signal goes into the sky, it's not just a calling, it's to strike fair. Like, it's a warning. You out here doing, so like you said, you saw the guy that was spray painting, terrified. He looks, the can goes into a dark building. He's just like, I'm not going to go in there to get that can. You get what I'm saying? So the beginning of that movie, the voiceover, I just love that he was walking us through his experience as he was doing it. I thought that was very important. Again, it's not an origin story, but I felt like we were the journal and he was the pen writing in that book, sort of writing. Right. Fantastic intro. Definitely excited. Of course, it was raining. It's always raining in Gotham.
Yes, raining. Yes, always raining in Gotham.
God damn. The umbrella business is crazy.
One thing about that beginning where it was crazy is like it kind of like Shelley said, it kind of like broke down who he was. Like, it showed that, like, okay, this is a dude that, again, just started out. He's still a rookie. He had the ugly combat boots, all the makeshift things, like, and it's like fantastic because you're like, yeah, this is what a real life superhero would be like. It would be clunky. He'd be getting hit. It's like, the danger feels like it's real, but if you slip up, he will sleep you. That man was ready. He ran the fade on all of those dudes, man, and he had no problems doing it, And I thought what was great about that whole ending sequence is the guy who he saved was scared of him. you know. And so again, it shows that not a lot of people know him. There's a bit of a distrust with this what do you call it, vengeance guy or whatever. Yes. You know, like it was fantastic because now you're like, oh, Batman. You know, he's not Batman yet. You know, he's still growing in, and he wasn't even aware until again we'll go when we get to the end. I'll expound a little bit more, but like he wasn't even like aware of like what's happening. He's just driven. Like, okay, I just finished training. This is my second year. I got to keep going because I gotta clean it up. But he's realizing it. But again, you can't be everywhere. Also, crime is ratcheting up now that you're here. So like it didn't make any like for him right now. He's like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Blah blah blah. He doesn't know that yet. He's still, you know, he's still wet behind the ears. He hasn't been there. One thing he can do, he can fight. He can fight, and he's not. He's willing to run the ones. And I think Robert Pattinson encompassed that perfectly, right? He was emo, he was brooding, but also this is a dude that suffered trauma and hasn't really worked that. Because remember, we know Batman is he's a little crazy, right? Like his motives are never killing or whatever, but saving the bad guys who killed like 53 million people before. You know, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. But you know, like that's his code. You know, and it's a good. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's an honorable code. Not a code always rooted in reality, because how many people would you have saved if you would have killed Joker all these millions of years ago, right?
Yeah.
But again, he's just learning, and this is what I loved about it.
Yeah, man. You know, we're in the beginning of the movie. I'm thinking of some of like the best beginning scenes. Another thing where you really showed like, hey, this is really year 2 is and which was like actually one of my favorite scenes at the very beginning of the movie, outside of the intro. It was really when he shows up to the crime scene for the first time, right? When we first see him showing up to a crime scene, and you know he's here to, you know, obviously meet. I was gonna say Commissioner Gordon. He's not that yet, but to meet Detective Gordon, you know, to meet Detective Gordon, and he basically is like walking through a house with full of cops everywhere, and they're just looking at him in pure disgust. You know, he's fully alienated. They do not like him. They, you know, he's walking by. One of the cops called him a freak, and you know, and when he did call him a freak, you know, the camera was angled to, you know, Batman's back as he was walking in. I'm telling you, I thought that he was gonna stop walking and come back around to like yoke him up to say, yo, what did you say? But he's completely ignoring all of it. But it was like, listen, this is not the Batman that everyone is kissing his butt. This is like, who the hell is this guy? He is a vigilante. We don't want him here. Why the hell you keep? And again, that goes back to Gordon, you know, taking that heat for him. But you know, just that scene there, him showing up, them really showing his detective attributes. You know, a lot of the other Batman movies, it's not that he's not a great detective at that point, but he's done a lot of things to make that part of his job easy. There's so much technology where he's like, you doesn't even need to figure anything. Let me grab the bullets, ballistics, let me put it in the machine. It scans everything. I can scan the fingerprint. This here, he's like looking at the blood splatter on the floor. He's walking around, you know, you had the professionals there, you know, trying to tell Gordon, you know, what's happening with the body, and he notices something completely different from anyone else. It's like, hey, he was alive when that finger was taken, you know, and things like that. So it just really showed. One, we need to understand, you know, it just showed like the beginning, like he was grinding. He wasn't as polished, but you know, the detective skills there, again, which is skated over in almost every other Batman movie. They really nailed that there. And then what made that scene even more powerful, because obviously the Riddler had killed the mayor, right? And the mayor had a family, which a son and a wife, and the son came home to find his father dead. You know, and when they told Batman that, and he went, and he specifically, like right after that, he heard what the kid came in on this. He went specifically to that kid's bedroom and stood outside of it and just looked at the kid, because he felt no one is going to understand that pain more than Batman. In that entire house. And you know, Batman felt for him, and it was almost like there was that connection right then and there. Like, listen, anything you need, anything, I'm here for you. You understand? Without saying anything, but he was just like, damn, I remember going through it. You know,
that's such a great point.
Understand
that he's just in a black suit that's covering over half of his face and just some pointy ears. The fact that he hears those words and now he has to walk past this kid and then convey all with just looks and how he's standing and how his shoulders are turned. He, with no words at all, has to convey some level of empathy and sympathy for this little kid. He has to make a connection with that kid without using any words. And it's done with the camera work. It's done with the panning in on Robert Pattinson's face, with the looking of the sorrow in the kid's eyes. And that is something that is very hard to do. And it's conveyed easily. It's done so fantastically well that everyone knows what's happening there. We all know what happened to his parents, but for him to be able to get that, honestly, I don't think another Batman could have done that good of a job with that. It's also part in what the suit allows. The suit, because so much of it is around his eyes, so much of it is not the suit. He puts eye black basically from the eyebrows down to his cheekbones. There's eye black all there. So it gives a lot more space in his costume for him to be able to emote with his eyes. Something that Christian Bale's Batman and even Val Kilmer's Batman can't do, because it comes in almost exactly on the eye. So he uses a lot of his face to be able to express greater emotion, and he uses it to great effect in that scene, like Jimmy was saying.
Yeah, man. It was just, I was just looking at that like, and the other thing too about it is, you notice the boy obviously seeing something like that in your house. It's not like he's a cop. He wasn't terrified of him at all. It was almost like there was that connection where he was like, yo, I think he understands me. Like, there's something about Batman right now that I'm not scared of him. It's like, so it was that connection there. And I was like, oh man, it reminded me of the Christian Bale's Batman in the first one, where he had to go into the slums to go and investigate something. I think it was Scarecrow at the time. And remember, he was, coming down a building, and that boy, his parents was like, I think his dad was abusing his mom or something, whatever. It was a toxic environment. And he found that boy in the fire escape, and Batman obviously heard everything that was going on, and he felt so bad for the kid that, he gave him one of his gadgets. He was like, hey, take this thing, and, just to make the kid feel, really good about himself. So, again, man, I think that was a beautiful scene. That tied into what Charles was talking about earlier, where they went to that funeral home, and he was not playing with that boy. That boy was going to live. That's who he targeted. The car was coming. He didn't care about nobody else. He was like, listen, you've been through enough. You're coming with, I'm saving you specifically. Someone else gets hit. All right. It is what it is. So, there's that connection, and he's going to, and I try to look in the future with this stuff, but he's going to look after that kid forever. He's going to come to him as Bruce Wayne and do that bullshit that he does, Jimmy,
I'm calling it. That's Robin. That's Robin right there, baby. I think him or that other kid from the beginning that had the half painted face that didn't want to fight. One of those two. One of those two is gonna be the next Robin.
Well, that kid with his face half painted, he plays a Robin in DC's Titans.
Yes, Tim Drake.
Really?
Yeah, he's Tim Drake.
Cool.
Tim Drake, which I believe is the second or the third Robin.
He's the third Robin. He's after Damian. I said after Damian. Yeah. He's after what's his face?
No, Damian is the last. Damian is the last one, because that's
he's the last Robin. Yeah.
It goes Dick Grayson. And then the one that's Richard Todd.
And then Jason Todd.
Tim Drake. Yeah. And then Damian Wayne.
Yes. Even with what we're talking about here with Robert Pattinson and Batman, that beginning scene that Jimmy was talking about with him walking into that room, they do a lot of work there, showing you what he is all about, because there are versions of Batman when he's meeting with Gordon where he waits for everyone to leave and then he shows up. what that version of Batman does is he's very much in the shadows. He's not really looking to be seen by people. He's not really looking to get any kind of recognition, because so much of those versions of Batman, those are more, the flip side of that is that version of Batman that lurks in the shadows, who only talks to Commissioner Gordon, also coincides with a version of Bruce Wayne who's very outside and very public. This Batman has a version of Bruce Wayne that is very secluded, not in the Playboy lifestyle. But on the flip side of that, you have a Batman who is okay showing up in that city hall at that funeral with the guy with the bomb around his neck, showing up at that apartment after the murder, walking through 20 cops, letting them see him up close and personal like that.
I wonder if the reason for that is because remember when we had this discussion before, like the Batman timeline, right? If this is Batman year 2, right, and no one really knows him and they consider him the vigilante and thing, I'm trying to remember. They had a falling out. They did have a falling out. Was it when Commissioner's daughters became Batwoman? I'm trying to. They had a falling out where he ended up becoming the Shadow. He couldn't be around cops anymore. I'm trying to remember. It's either at that point or when his partner the Bull. What's his name?
Bullock.
Yeah, when Bullet was killed, isn't that after? I'm trying to, because I want to be accurate. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, what source are you using? Are you using?
It's the comics. It's the old comics, because you gotta remember. We have multiple versions of Batman, and when they brought them all together, there's a lot of, like, we still have a lot of strings that's attached to that Batman, but. The version of the Batman we're getting is an earlier Batman. This is like we said, this is still a young rookie Batman. This Batman is taking shots to the face, to the chest, and he's still getting beat up. He doesn't have the weapons experience. He doesn't have the actual the League of Assassins training. He hasn't done none of that. He hasn't met like the real villains that really test him and push him to his limit. But the Batman that we see in the Batman series when we were kids, those are pretty much polished and finished Batmans. When he's meeting Jim Gordon on the roof and he just appears out of the shadow. Hey Jim, like, and then all of a sudden while he's talking, he just disappears. And he's like, I hate it when you do that, because that was always Commissioner Gordon. He hated that. He was like, where the hell did you come from? And then he's talking, and then he just disappeared. He's like, "Where the hell did he go? Like, how is he able to do that?" So those are all. That version of Batman is polished already. So yeah.
Did he do that to anybody? Did he disappear on someone when they were talking? I feel like
he did it once to Jim Gordon.
He did it once to Jim Gordon, right? Because I'm like, I could have sworn he did it. He hit him with the moves on the roof.
Yeah, towards the end of the movie, he did, and Jim Gordon was like, "Where'd he go?" And I'm like, "Oh, here we go. He's starting to get it. He's starting to get it again. He's still young. He's still a little naive. He hasn't figured, because they were like what we were talking about the other night. There were like three Batman, right, or three personalities of Batman, right? The Batman, Bruce Wayne, the playboy billionaire who uses Wayne Industries to finance, like get things done, get power, use his political power, get things happening. There's the Bruce Wayne with Alfred, right? Or Batman with Alfred, right? That relationship, because that's like a version all in itself, right? Or Batman with like people like Alfred, right? That side, and then there's Batman, which is his true self, so to speak. He's not Bruce Wayne. His secret identity is Bruce Wayne, because he's really Batman.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's something that the Riddler, I guess we'll get into that more towards the end of the movie, but that's something that he really gets into. Another powerful scene for me at the beginning, it it plays to what Q was kind of saying, right, about Gotham City, because this is more scenery based here.
Yeah.
But when they actually showed him going to his Batcave, to me that was extremely different. I'm thinking this guy's gonna have to take a drive through the countryside to get to his mansion. He got there relatively quick, going down staircases in like abandoned train stations.
Yep.
And then he already has a wall that like comes up, and just real classic new shit. At least, obviously Christian Bale's Batman, you have to see him build that up, his cave.
Yeah.
Like this seems to be already, somewhat, it's not super polished, not yet. But when you go in there and the brick wall lifts up, I'm like, oh man, he's the Batcave? So the Batcave is also something really important in these Batman movies. And I was really curious to see what second year Batman is, how is he operating? And when he gets there, you see it's underneath. I think it was like what was the
Wayne Enterprise? I thought it was at the basement of Wayne Enterprise.
Yeah, it looked like a abandoned train station under Wayne Enterprises or something like that. So I feel like
Grand Central. It was Grand Central.
Grand Central. Yeah. So he's stationed underneath the company or something like that, which I thought was really cool. And obviously, and then it kind of brought me to like, okay, this is based in the future as well, because look at the technology. He doesn't have like baby computers there. But it shows, and here's the thing. This Batman at the beginning of the movie, he's not interested in Wayne Enterprises at all. He doesn't care. It's Alfred, which is similar to Ben Affleck's Batman, where at a point where he was just like, I don't care to really be at these meetings or these things. I don't care. He wasn't interested in it. He was just more focused. He's like, if I'm no use to these people as Batman, I don't give a damn about being Bruce Wayne. Which ties into what you were saying about, that's his true identity as Batman. But another thing that I was tying in, because it's the beginning of the movie, like, I was like, what type of technology does he have? What is he using? And, I thought the coolest thing in the world to kind of, it looked like an old Batman movie, but it's like the technology was futuristic. He had the contacts that he took out of his eyes that were actually cameras to sort of record everything he sees. But I'm like, okay, clearly the era this movie is in contacts as cameras, and he's able to put it in the machine and play back everything that he did that night, because as he said, sometimes he can't even remember, and just seeing him sitting there in his man cave, doing some more brooding, writing in his journal about his adventures and what he did that night, and and all of these things. So I felt like the Batcave scene at the beginning of the movie, the way they showed it, they showed he already had his vehicles. You saw the vehicle, but it was wrapped up at the moment. And he's obviously riding around on a motorcycle most of the places he goes. So I thought that was a really good part at the beginning of the movie for them to show that.
And he was getting dressed. He had a backpack with him where he was getting dressed in the shadows and coming out of the shadows.
Yeah.
You noticed that he rode the bike everywhere.
Movie, actually.
Yeah, so he did that. He did that a few times throughout the movie. I was like, wait, hold on. He didn't leave where he was like he normally. Oh, okay, yeah. So like that, they're literally giving you hints like, oh yeah, he's still new. Like he's really learning. Like, okay, I got it. Yeah, it was actually really good. Like I love
Peter Parker of him, actually. Very Peter Parker of him.
Yeah.
He said very Peter Parker of him.
Well, it's also it's that's the Clark Kent, like, hey, let me run into the phone.
Yes.
And what else? And there's something I'm missing. Oh, the beginning of the movie. I think this considers as the beginning. They tap in. I learned a lot at the beginning, which with Alfred. Obviously, this is a different Alfred and Bruce Wayne relationship. It's different from anything that I've ever seen. Because, like I believe Q mentioned that earlier, they're not like there's love there, but he's like immediately like one of the first things he says is like, "Hey, you're not my dad, right?" And I'm like, "Whoa, don't be talking to Alfred like that. Come on now, you gotta relax."
You're talking crazy to Alfred, man.
Yeah, it's a different Batman. Like he's like the other Batmans we've seen at that point. Even when I think a little bit of Christian Bale did that a little bit at some points, but he didn't go that far. Like he had a certain level of respect. Not that this one didn't, but it was just sort of like, hey, all right, you were my guardian. There's love there, but stay in your place. I do this my way. Yes. So I was like, damn, what's going on there? And then this movie is completely different because, as Ammo mentioned, Batman is not trained with the League of Assassins. He's trained with Alfred. Alfred is who taught him how to fight, handle weapons, whatever it is that you see Batman doing in that movie in terms of combat. The way he moves is completely Alfred, which is weird though, because I'm like, where does he get the shadow thing from? So I don't know. That was like one of the biggest mysteries for me. Did he train with the League of Assassins yet, or is it just Alfred?
I started to do the deep dive, right? I started to do the deep dive to figure that out too. And one of the characters in year 2 is the Reaper, who is a Caspian. What's the damn name? Crap. Because Leslie Thompson, right? So Leslie Tompkins is after Bruce Wayne's parents died in year 2. This is the original. This is like 1980 after Frank Miller did year 1, right after it came out year 2. But Frank Miller didn't write that. It was Mikey Barr wrote that one, right? Mm-hmm. So in that one you see Leslie Tompkins raised Bruce. Was it? I hope I'm not messing this up. It's because Rachel Caspian is a charity worker, and her father is also his name. I forgot his name, but he's the Reaper, which is the main villain antagonist in year 2, and the Reaper is he is the vigilante in Gotham. He's going around killing, crime bosses, and he's taking care of the scum of Gotham. And Batman, who's still rookie, still young, he actually encounters this guy, and they fight, and you can clearly see the difference in expertise. The Reaper been doing this much longer than him. You know what I'm saying? And they get into a fight, and Batman soon realizes, I can't keep up with him, and I gotta get away. So in the household he was raised in, that's where he's getting his training from. That's where they're all fighting, they're learning and stuff. This is before, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I started to really deep dive, and I really want to put the pieces back together, because the stuff I remember as a kid and the stuff I'm seeing now, I'm like, so which one is origin and which one is new? Like, they're doing a lot of melding and meshing, and that relationship with Alfred, like, we're so used to seeing Alfred is the one that raised Bruce. That's what we're accustomed to from Adam West's Batman to the even the Batman series we had on television. It was like, oh yeah, this Alfred was always the caretaker and he's taking care of it. But what happened in that period between when he was a young boy to when him and Alfred actually started to form they cemented their relationship, so
Alfred's always been his moral compass, right, Amo? At least he's always been his moral compass.
Well, that's what we've known, because when we seen the death of Alfred, that was one of the statements in the comic. It was like, that's the dude that's always been, because he went off hinge. He definitely went off book after Alfred died. After Alfred died, he went off book. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, wait, hold on. What happened? Why did the Batman change? Oh, guess what? There's no Alfred. Ta-da. You know what I'm saying? So
the death of someone close to him has always been used as a catalyst to take Batman to the next level. It's what happens with Tim Drake. Tim Drake? No, Richard Todd.
Richard Todd.
Jason Todd.
Jason Todd.
Yeah, I let you go the first time, but I was like, nah, he's ODing with it now. Jason Todd.
Jason, okay, He was stabbed by one of the Jokers, right?
The Joker handled him.
Tortured him and killed him, I believe.
Yeah, hold on,
because I remember that comic book cover. It was the actual Joker or the gang of Jokers?
No, I believe it was the actual Joker. Tortured him and killed him.
That's the one in the
Joker
factory.
beat him over the head with a. No, Joker beat him over the head with a what do you call it? With a crowbar.
With a pipe, yeah.
Crowbar.
Yeah, with the crowbar, and then like the building crumbles. That's that iconic magazine cover where Batman has Robin's dead body out of a pile of rubble.
Yeah, he's carrying him. Death in the Family. Excellent book, man.
I need to figure out who trained this guy.
The movie ends up being 3 hours long, and the middle part of it is definitely filled with a lot more bouncing off of like the middle part of the movie is definitely the relationship part of the movie. It's Batman and Zoe Kravitz. It's Batman and Catwoman. It's Batman and Commissioner Gordon. It's Penguin and his club. It's Catwoman and her father. It's all those things. It's Catwoman and her roommate. Even. The beginning of the movie is definitely carried by relationships bouncing off of each other, and all these people who at one time probably didn't know each other or didn't know much of anything about each other, then using that to forward the plot of the movie. And that's very easy. That could very easily be the part of the movie where it slows down, where it gets a little long in the tooth. But before it ever gets long in the tooth in any way, shape, or form, they switch it up enough by honestly focusing on different characters at different times. Okay. Going from Catwoman and her roommates to then going to Penguin and his club, and Penguin with Marconi, and then Marconi and what he's doing with the city, and then Batman truly just with little stop points there with Riddler, with his murders and with his hints. A lot of that is used as Batman going from person to person, or Batman and even Commissioner Gordon going from person to person to carry the movie up to the last plot. And that is where A, great acting, and B, great writing, and C, great pacing play a big part in making a 3-hour movie not actually feel like a 3-hour movie.
3 hours, yeah. That was that. Yeah, like I said, that was a great part, good part on Matt Reeves and the writer. You know, they did a great job sequencing this. You know, it was a great job sequencing. You know, because like you said, our expectation. Like normally when I go into a Batman movie, I have no expectation, because if you have an expectation and it fails to meet it, then you're like, oh Christ. Why'd you do this to me? Don't mess up a character for me. It's like there's certain movies that don't need sequels or prequels. Let the movie just be. And Batman is one of those stories that there's so many facets of Batman that we haven't touched and that need to be like discussed. Like you said, who trained him? You know, between when he first started, we need the fill-ins. Like, you know, like most of us know League of Assassins. We know his initial fights with, you know, like what's this guy from the Teen Titans, Slade. You know, all the like we know these encounters. Like, so like fill us in. Like all those questions that need to be answered. There's still room to do that. You know, there's definitely still room to do that.
But that's what's great about this Batman. Oh, sorry, Sean.
No, you go ahead, buddy.
But that's what's great about this Batman, because it's like this is literally a soft reboot of the Batman, of the new Batman. So the slate's clean. It's time they're doing their own thing. I don't know how many movies they're gonna get. Looks like they should get at least two more.
At least two more.
At least two more. Yeah. So they're gonna fill all of those things out. You know, they're gonna fill all those things out and really like. Yeah, I think it's going to be good. If with whatever Matt Reeves is doing, listen, I think it's going to be great, because he started out like just the starting point of what he's done now is like, oh yeah, you know what? It wasn't the best Batman movie, but it was the best Batman movie about Gotham, so to speak. You know. You know, so it's like it was a great springboard. It was a great way to kind of like soft reboot him into the DCEU.
That's actually another great point there by Q. I'd be remiss if I didn't get the chance to mention, while mentioning how the middle of the movie is carried by characters to character. Also, to Q's point in the beginning of this podcast, Gotham City being a character in the middle of the movie is also crucial. whether it's the fantastic chase scene between Batman and the Penguin,
my God,
through the highway, going against traffic, that huge explosion. Whenever you put in a theme song and you link the theme song to a character, where you use that theme song in the middle of a movie is very important. That car chase happens. Penguin's car gets demolished in one of the best wrecks and rolling of a car I've ever seen. There's a huge explosion as Batman busts the Batmobile through there, makes the car spin. He doesn't even drive up the Penguin. He parks like fucking 30 yards away, gets out of the car, and then as soon as he steps out of the car, the theme starts playing with, once again, his heavy footsteps in the background, almost accompanying the song as he walks up to the car. Once again, almost allowed me to introduce myself. My name is Batman to the Penguin there, in a sense. Gotham City does a great job in the middle of the movie with a bunch of that scene where he is knocked out. That they're in City Hall, the bomb goes off, he's out cold, he's on that table at the police station with all the officers. They're trying to take off his mask, and then he wakes up, fights them off, gets free by Commissioner Gordon, and he runs to the top of that building and then zips up his Batwing suit, and jumps off that skyscraper, flies through Gotham, perilously so, and gets totally demolished by a bridge.
Oh my God. That hurt.
Can I jump in on that one?
Yeah.
Let me jump in on that one. First off, it was great. That scene, excellent in how like they set it up, where like you could see that he's not used to the grapple hook.
Right? Yes.
Right. You could tell that it's like one of his first times using it. He's like, you could tell, like, again, even the way he swings, again, not a polished Batman. This is his first time. He uses that flying squirrel suit, like a legit, real flying squirrel suit.
It's just two zippers. He just
yeah. Excellent. And I think probably one of the best, if not the best set piece, my favorite set piece was that car chase scene. Didn't use any goofy gimmicks, and don't get me wrong, we love those, right? Fast 9, 6, 7, 27, they're the best because they make no sense and their cars going fast and smashing into each other. But this, they again grounded in reality. It's raining and they're driving on in the opposite lanes. Penguin's like, yo, I'm about to get this guy. Causes this amazing pile up. The oil rig blows up, and he's like, I got you. Again, shout out to Colin Farrell, man. Killed it. He's like, yo, I had him. And Batman comes out with that Batman. Listen, nobody's talking about that Batmobile. That Batmobile was tough. It was tough.
Grounded in reality again.
Yes.
It was like.
Let me get this. Hold on. Let me get this one.
Get in there.
So when we first see the Batmobile, you got to think about it. We didn't see it. We heard it.
Yo, yes, we heard it.
And everybody's looking, and they're like, "Yo, what the hell is that?"
Shoot.
Jim Gordon, Jim is sitting in the corner. He's like, "Yo, what are we all hearing?" Selena Kyle is sitting behind the car, and she's like, "Wait, what the hell's going on?" And then the lights come on. Pow! It looked like a bat in the shadow, and then that sucker just darts out.
Wow! They introduced the Batmobile the same way they introduced Batman. He's in the shadows, and you hear the footsteps before you see Batman. It's very much the same way you hear the car before he ever turns on the lights. Some great symmetry there.
Oh my God! It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Keep in mind that saved Selena Kyle's life, because she was Penguin was about to
demolish her.
Test that 9 life theory, and I don't. First of all, when the fuck did Batman even escape from the car? He was on the ground. So the fact that he just disappeared and got to that car with no one seeing him, and again, starting that fucking car up, because he didn't use that car at all up until that point.
Yes.
Yep.
And if you could do that sound for me one more time, someone was busting the sound down.
I think Amo did it.
That's all you heard, son.
And then they show you the engine going off, and that's a baby tank, man. Because for Penguin's car to be flying like that, nah, he hit him with something, because my God.
Well, he used some NOS. He used some
NOS, yeah, bro.
Yeah, which is fantastic. He squeezes it in there, and so I know me and Q we weren't sitting next to each other. He was a few people down from me, but I know me and Q had the same reaction when the flatbed let down for him to fly over. I go, oh my God, they totally stole that from the Fast and Furious movies. That is absolutely from the Fast and Furious movies.
Wait, hold on. Actually, if you remember in the Christian Bale movie where he was coming back in the third one with Bane, they did the same thing when he was on that motorcycle and he had to escape and get over the cops. They did that same little bullshit where he got on one of those things and he jumped over. So, they had to do that, because you have to wonder how the hell was his car in the air in the first place. So, right. Had to make sense.
That is still a great Batmobile, the Christian Bale one, but still shout out to that bike to that bat cycle in that Christian Bale Batman. The Still an amazing car.
What was some of the other scenes in the middle of the movie? To touch on what you were saying, Shells, like that's when they really got into the Catwoman, the Penguin, the scene where Batman has to go to the Penguin Lounge, and again, this is not the polished Batman, because he's not going through the front door. He is knocking on the front door. You're opening the door. You're seeing him, and he's like, "I'm here to see you." That part had me crying. He said, "You know who I am?" He was like, "Yeah, I have an idea." So you could tell, like, the criminals still don't. Some fear him, but the ones that are at a little higher tier, they still get a little smart mouth with him. He's not at that point yet where everybody sees him and they know to not mess with him. So he gets to this place. He's knocking on the front door. They're opening the door. I'm Batman. I'm here to see your boss. Calls out his twin brother, the henchman, or whatever the case is, and they literally not trying to let him come in. He knocks them out 1, 2, 3, which as he should. And he's literally just walking through this club in a suit, like bumping people, like, get out of my way. Excuse me. Like, just no
fighting
stealth.
Fighting off other guys too.
Exactly. Gunfire. There was just no stealth. The traditional Batman that we see where he's not, you don't even know he's in the building. That wasn't that. This young new Batman was like, I'm going through, and I think he learned from that. Like, all right, they letting off guns in the club with people in here. Maybe this is not the best way. Maybe he learns that later. But for him to go through all of that, for the Penguin to come to him, and they actually sit there and have a conversation, and that's their sort of first interaction. And again, theme song was kicking in. And I think that's where Selena Kyle sort of comes into the picture a little bit. If it's not her first time getting into the picture. And obviously the minute Batman sees her, he's already wet. He's already like lost. Whatever he came to do, he was like, oh, all right.
Hello.
He's like, hello, how's it going? And what was she doing? She was just there like bringing him cigars. Oh, bringing him
money for drugs.
Yeah. The money she made from passing around the drugs, I guess. And, just their interaction there. And then when the Penguin tries to be a smartass, because again, some people fear Batman, but he's not there yet. So the Penguin is being a smartass, and Batman had to like let him know, like, listen, I will hurt you. Smashes him against the glass, and you see Selena just like sort of watching in the back, like your little, when you get your ass whipping, your younger siblings is in the background just looking like, oh man, like, what's going on there? Like, and it was just that, and I'm just like, yo, this is really him in the beginning. Like, why is all these people talking back? What's going on? But him knocking on the door to go through the front entrance, I felt like that scene was crazy to me. People just looking at him like, dude,
But you point out some great foreshadowing there. You make a great point saying that he comes in there the first time, he knocks on that front door, he busts his way through. If not for Penguin putting his hand on the shoulder, going, "Whoa, hey, buddy, calm down," he would have just kept going through that place until he found Penguin. But later on in the movie, towards the end, as we enter the final scenes, he goes back in there one more time. And he goes back in there as Bruce Wayne, not as Bruce Wayne, but as just a regular guy with the hoodie on. He knocks on the door. First guy comes in, beaten up from the last interaction with Batman. And then his brother goes outside, and then he sneaks in behind him, closes the door behind him, totally stealthily getting into the building, showing that he learned from his first time there, just like you just said.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that also highlights one of the funniest parts of this movie, right? Because he went into that club 3 times, right? First time as Batman, second time as Bruce Wayne, went right in, right? And then the third time, he's just in. He's just in, sneaks in, beats them up, goes down to the basement, and you can tell that he's not, again, he doesn't have all of the gadgets that Lucius Fox, what do you call it, who makes all of his bad gadgets, like where he could just cut out the power. You see him welding, burning down, burning down, the electrical panels in the basement to try to knock it out, which is great. But I don't know if you guys noticed, and of course I noticed because I'm in my background is where I work in is utilities. It's funny because he cuts out the lights, but in the next scene when he's bringing the out, he takes the elevator. I'm like, what happened to the power, guys? Somebody he cut out the power. I was like, are they running on PC?
Yeah, I just realized. Yeah, you're right.
Wait, hold up. Did the elevator actually come down, or he jumped down the shaft on top of the elevator and the door just opened?
The door open. What about emergency power?
Yeah, I was about to say
the backup generator.
Could have been on emergency power.
That's not a hospital. It's not a hospital, bro.
Especially in a building like that. They might have had some emergency. There are ways that they could explain it, but that scene right there that Q references is fantastic, and this is something that we've seen in movies over the last 6-7 years. It's a fantastic corridor scene. Not as good, Q remembers this one, not as good as the red lightsaber with Darth Vader in, what was that? Rogue One?
Rogue One.
Red lightsaber down the hallway. Fantastic.
Best Vader scene ever.
Best corridor
Best Vader scene ever.
Actually pretty good. The lights are off. It's just the elevator doors open. And they are looking for him. They're looking for him, and then one has to go all the way to the elevator and then look up, and he's just basically holding himself up like he's a spider in the ceiling. Yeah. And then he comes down, and then that entire scene is done with the lights off. The only lights that you're seeing is the lights from the gunfire, and every time the gunfire goes off, it is Batman mollywopping somebody.
Yeah. Yo, I'm like, first of all, that suit of armor, man.
Oh my God, nothing gets through that thing. He's literally in a suit of armor.
I said, and that was the thing. Like, I was like, year 2 Batman. That must mean like he went through a lot in year 1 for him to upgrade to such a suit. Because I'm like, to your point, like him for the first time, I think jumping off of a rooftop. Because remember, he didn't just jump off; he was hesitant. He almost slipped off. He was like, "Whoa!"
Scared.
He was like, "What the hell?" But he was prepared. But then, to go to these scenes like bullets, I understand, like, a little handgun hitting him. I understand his suit is going to reflect that. But these guys were carrying AK-47, like big boy machine guns, and just he's walking through a hole. And I'm like, is he not one of those bullets are going to hit him in the chin? Like he's literally, it was just so many bullets everywhere. And I'm like,
yo, plot armor, bro. That's that plot armor, bro.
No, but he did in the movie. He did get hit. I believe he got hit in the kidney. He did get hit at some point in the movie. He did get hit where he was laid up on his back, and he was like, "Shit, this hurt." It got through. I believe that was the scene where he was in Gotham Square Garden.
Yeah, that's at the end.
The end. Yes,
he did get hit. Yeah, and then they showed you where he opened up his suit. He had little holes in his suit where he can actually just open up so he can give himself the adrenaline shot.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So at some point in the movie, they did show like, oh crap, your armor ain't all that, bro. You got to get hit.
Well, listen. That armor took a bomb blast direct.
Oh my God.
And he was still, and he was still okay.
It was
but remember, he put his hands up. So here's the other thing too. Since we on the suit, the gauntlets. I was like, Court of Owls. Is that the Court of Owls with the? Because it's not the League of Assassins.
No, it's definitely the Owls.
So I'm like, that's why I was like, maybe it's training from that, So, but but anyway, to go back to some of the scenes in the middle, but that was just something that I caught. Another scene for me, and I feel like I had to like sort of really pay attention to like the relationship, because I was like, why does Selena care so much about this girl that wears the same boots as her? Mm-hmm. And obviously Batman follows Selena once he realizes that she's wearing the same boots. Again, detective work here. He sees that she's wearing the same boots that she had on in this picture. He follows her home, just like the Riddler. He's looking through the binoculars. He's watching Catwoman, and he's just sort of and at that point, I realized like Catwoman is bisexual, right? Because the way she was speaking about the girl and certain things that she was saying, I'm like, wait a minute, they're in a relationship. Like,
they were. Yep,
they're in a relationship, and I'm like, and I didn't catch it at first, but I'm like, I understand that's your friend, but like, you're distraught right now, and I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, that's her girlfriend, but then I'm like, why are you kissing on Batman? And I'm like, oh, she's probably a bisexual. Anybody could get it in her eyes, which also makes sense because when they had that crooked cop. When she found that crooked cop, and she had him on the roof of the building where the bat signal was up, she was ready to kill him. She wasn't, especially after she heard the voicemail. She wasn't concerned with life or ethics. She wasn't trying to hear anything Batman was saying. I'm surprised she didn't. I'm surprised she called Batman first before executing him. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And let's speak about that goddamn building with this bat signal. So only Gordon and Batman have access to this.
Yeah, that's their own personal thing. But that's their own personal thing. Yes, that was their personal. That was their personal rendezvous spot throughout the comics. Throughout whether it was the Dark Knight, whether it was what's the other two? It was always that was their common place. But there at some point they did trash it. Like the Gotham PD found out about it. And was Gordon the commissioner at that time, or was it when Lord was commissioner? At some point, they do destroy it, and then when the city needs Batman again, they do reconstruct it, but this time on top of the Gotham PD.
Yes.
Yeah. So originally, it wasn't on top of Gotham PD. It later gets put on top of Gotham PD. But that's after they destroyed it. Yeah.
It's just at some random construction site. So as a construction worker, I can imagine trying to get work done around there, and no one's going to say anything about this huge light that's obviously here to call Batman.
This is what I'm saying. And I'm like, won't all the bad guys just know, okay, we see that light, let's go there to the source. So it's definitely a rendezvous spot, like you said, because when he wanted to meet Catwoman so they can speak, Batman gave her that location as like a sort of private space. But I'm like, is it really private? Like the bat signal comes right off of the building. So, to me, I was like, that's sort of weird. Like, it's just like I only see Gordon and Batman can get to the roof. There was also another cool scene there, part of that same scene where she's basically trying to kill a cop, kicks him off the building, obviously, where Batman goes to first of all, she jumps off. I would like to know how she got down. Right?
At least she had the whip. She had the whip.
The whip ain't that long. The whip ain't that long, man. They was on top of because the way Batman. First of all, I said, please do not make Batman take this elevator. He is Batman. Make him jump off this building. And when he started going towards the edge, I said, yeah, he learned from the flying squirrel suit. But no, not yet. He puts the the little hook.
He got the magnetic. He had the magnetic hook onto the metal. And he ran down.
he ran down the building. So I'm like, at least there's that. So again, that was like another dope scene as well. So I think the middle of the movie did a lot of the first of the beginning was like Batman's story in a sense, but the middle of the movie was really Selena Kyle, the Penguin, Falcone, being her dad, and it's funny. I forgot all about that being her father. I forgot all when they said Falcone's my dad. I'm like, what? And I was like, oh man, It's been so long since I've been there. Comic book. Yeah, I was just like, oh crap. Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, that is her dad. So just kind of telling those stories of her mother and all of this, and why I am the way that I am, and this is why he owes me this money, because obviously, remember, she was stealing money, and Batman obviously didn't approve, and he didn't get it, and he was so quick to judge her. He thought that she was actually dating Falcone, that they were fucking, and all of these things, and basically calling her like a hoe, and he was basically slut shaming her at a point, and I think he was doing that too because that's typical guy stuff. Like he was in his feelings a little bit, like, damn, I like you.
His feelings, yep.
I like you, but you sleeping around with this scumbag. Like he was definitely offended by that. So I thought the middle of the movie did a really good job of bringing everyone else in that element.
One thing that happens in the middle of the movie there is, in the beginning of the movie, they forego the common trope of showing us how or what happens to the Waynes and how they die. They don't show us that, but actually the Waynes are all over this movie. They're all over the middle.
Yes.
They are catalysts as to what's happening there. You find out that yes, the Waynes are the middle of this movie, but then you also find out that Martha Wayne was an Arkham. Two founding families of Gotham, the Waynes and the Arkhams. They get married to almost create a power couple, and it is implied that the mother had mental health issues.
Yeah.
And the Waynes are all over the middle of this movie. The Waynes are the reason for this massive fund. Well, Thomas Wayne is running for mayor. The Waynes make this massive fund to help the city, $1 billion fund without any oversight. Then they die, and then that $1 billion fund is then used to fund crime for the next 20 years, it looks like, right? And this is where the Riddler comes in, almost as a vengeance or some kind of resentment towards the Waynes allowing this to happen. In the beginning of this, it is made to seem that the Waynes are part of a criminal enterprise, as if they did this purposefully. But what is later revealed is that they are actually victims, in a sense, where they didn't need for this to happen. It just ended up happening. Now, Riddler, being who he is, he doesn't care about that level of nuance. So he naturally takes it out on them, and then takes it out on their son in Bruce Wayne, who he knows is Batman somehow, but we never get an explanation as to how or why he knows that it's Batman.
Well, actually
he didn't know it was Batman.
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
He kept on saying his name, but remember right at the end when he was like, he's the only one that got away, and that's where remember Batman was like a little puppy with his tail between his legs because he thought his identity got revealed. But when he said we didn't get him, that's where he started punching the glass and he started acting big shot because it was like, oh, my identity is still protected.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Yeah.
So
yo, Batman had no poker face in that one.
And zero poker face.
He's like, yo, he got me.
You got me.
Like, yo, he got me. Yeah, he got me. But here's the thing, Shelly, I don't think he knew. I really don't think he knew.
He did not. He didn't know.
He didn't know. At the end of the movie, he didn't know. Yeah.
That will go against. That will go against the what you call it. That will go against the entire storyline of Batman, because there's only a handful of villains who actually figured who Batman was.
The Riddler is one of them. The Riddler is one of them, though.
But Jimmy, that's later.
Later on, he does figure it out after years and years and years. But Riddler was. Listen, you know what? Another thing that this movie really did for me, it brought in, like, we've seen the Joker, we had the Joker, we've had like all these villains. I love that not that the first Riddler wasn't great, Who did what was that? Was that like a Tim Burton movie? Is that why it was so colorful?
Jim Carrey.
No, but like because it was so colorful and so comic book on a screen. It was almost like
that was the one with Arnold. That's the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. Well, no, the first that was with Two-Face. With Two-Face. Oh my God, why I can't get his names? He Men in Black. He played the next to Will Smith. What the hell's his name? Come on, someone help me. Tom something.
Tom Jones?
I guess you're the closest. Look, comment below. Let us know if we get these things right. He said Tom. But you know who I'm talking about.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah. Listen, you were closer than me. I was about to say something completely different. But this Riddler, they really, really redeemed him in a sense of like, listen, this is supposed to be one of Batman's arch rivals, because of his brain. It's not so much of bronze, obviously, but I loved how they brought him back. And it wasn't like, oh, I built a machine, I'm taking everyone's knowledge or whatever, making them dumb, whatever that plot was. Again, I was younger, I loved it anyway, and it's still a classic movie.
Of course.
But here, it's like Riddler's like, I'm fucking shit up. I'm blowing the city up. I'm flooding the city. I'm going to commit murders. You're going to help me commit murders. Because obviously, one of his riddles led to Batman and Batman didn't even know he was working for the Riddler, in a sense, because the Riddler was like, you helped me do it. And he was like, no, I didn't. I'm nothing like you. He's like, yeah, remember I told you to bring him into the light? And literally when he brought Falcone out, he sniped him, because he was out in the open. Because he's like, listen, I'm not no brute. I couldn't have gone in there and got him out. That's what you were there for. So... Right. And I kind of sympathize with them a little bit, because one of the most powerful conversations between the Riddler and the Batman was like, he's like, Bruce Wayne, you think he's an orphan? He's not an orphan. Like he's rich man in a tower with billions of dollars. He's like an orphan is someone that has to like sleep with the rats nibbling at your hands. Right. Or a kid dies every winter because it's too cold. Like, but everyone is so focused on Bruce Wayne, and his parents died. Oh, he's an orphan. So he resented Bruce Wayne even more for that, So, I kind of, I was like, damn, Riddler, you know what though? Although I kind of see like he wasn't too much of a villain, because he was actually helping end corruption, like literally ending their lives. Well, that's exposing it.
That's a thing that has been done a lot with comic books over the last few years. With comic book movies over the last few years, whether it's this Riddler or the Joker with Heath Ledger a few years ago, or even Killmonger in Black Panther. Making these villains who, when they make their argument, you go, you know what? Maybe.
Yeah.
It's never the reason that they're doing it. Why they're doing it is almost super sympathetic. The only place where you have to criticize them is how they're carrying out this act, right? Yeah. But when they make it a character who is sympathetic and whose arguments or whose problems with the world is something that we could all agree with, the only way that they can make us convince us that they're actually the bad guys is to make what they do be bad.
That's why the movie was so good, because, like, again, Ra's al Ghul doesn't call Batman. He doesn't call him Bruce Wayne. What does he call him?
Oh shit!
Who knows what Ra's al Ghul calls Batman?
He calls him
from Batman Begins, or
the detective.
Exactly, Jimmy got it. The detective, right? And again, this is what we got. We got a pure Batman detective comics. That's what he does best, right? He figures it out. He figures out the weaknesses. Yeah, and then he give him enough time to plan it out. He's gonna fucking execute, And that's what was great, And I thought this is what was this was the best part of the whole movie because it's like you actually got a true detective, a detective story, right? All the way to the big reveal of going to what Shelley was saying. Like he's like, "Yo, I thought, up until this part, we're still in the halfway of movie heading into the ending, right? Heading into the ending, it was, hey, no, we're on the same side." And Batman was like, "Wait, I've been doing all of this. Gotham's crime is still skyrocketing. It's because, and his tactic was, I'm vengeance, right? I'm the vengeance, and I'm gonna be the guy that the death dealer, right? I'm gonna punish things, right? And so Riddler has it in his mind that yes, I'm going to punish also, right? I'm basically Batman, right? But misguided, right? And like to Sheldon's point, it's not about what do you call it? Your theory on it. It's how you execute, right? Batman and Batman and Riddler couldn't be further apart, but they're very same. And this is what's great about DC's DC's like villains, right? And I hope Marvel takes note of this because I think this is what Marvel messes up at: killing their best villains. Killmonger, I still think Killmonger is probably one of the best villains of all time because guess what? You were like, yeah, he has some really good points, but again, his execution, where it's like, I don't mind sacrificing people, And again, Batman is fantastic because Batman is the exact same person as the Joker, right? He is the Joker, right? He sees the world, for what it is. He's a nihilist, but also he's a utilitarian. He sees the world as it is, right? He sees that it's terrible, but he refuses to give up on people. He refuses to give up on the mission. Not this Batman now, but towards the end, as we're heading into the end of the movie, he realizes, oh shoot, I may have to switch up because what did the mayor say in the scene during the
they're not her speech
funeral. During the funeral, right? The mayor was like, hey, your parents did so many good things, right? You could, what do you call it? Maybe we could help. Maybe exactly. Yeah, you could do more for the city. And Batman, again, being the way he is, being crazy, not crazy, but him being like a little bit of a psychopath himself, he has this tunnel vision on like, no, I'm going to do it this way. And then he's realized like, it's bigger than me. I have to, I can't just be the vengeance guy because that could be misconstrued, right? Misconstrued, right? That could lead to more drama. He needs to change it up and be more of a symbol, right, for righteousness and goodness. Not just I'm gonna kill indiscriminately. I'm not just gonna beat a bunch of people's asses, put them in the hospital, right? It's like, there has to be more. He has to stand for something.
All that is definitely shown at the end of the movie there, where at the top of Gotham Square Garden, he's getting into the fight, and he's defeated just about all of the villains there. Before I get into that, one criticism I do have about the movie would be towards the end there, after the catching of the Riddler. Then the villains of the movie almost become these faceless, nameless people who are just with masks on and with rifles. Yeah. It kind of falls apart a little bit there for me, but they do a great job. They do a great job making it a thing where he has defeated everybody. He gets hit, and then he takes that green vial, which I think we can all agree is obviously venom, and then he injects himself with it to get that adrenaline boost to get him to beat that last guy who was about to kill Catwoman. And then while he's on the ground and he's beating up this guy on that rush, that crazy rush that you get from Venom, he gets pulled off by Commissioner Gordon, and then that guy's beaten to a pulp, but he can still talk. And then Batman goes, "Who are you?" And the guy responds appropriately, saying, "I'm vengeance." Woo! And Batman is horrified. Batman is horrified at this statement. He is absolutely crushed by the guy essentially saying, Batman, by the way, never refers to himself as Batman. I don't think anyone refers to him as Batman in that movie. He says, I'm vengeance. Whenever asks him who he is, he's referring to himself as vengeance. He does it against Penguin. He does it against the first time in that first scene in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He refers to himself as vengeance. And at the end there, when that guy says, I'm vengeance, he's essentially holding up a mirror to Batman saying, hey, buddy, we're the same thing. We're just using different methods to get it done, but we're the same thing.
Yeah.
Immediately, what happens after that? Immediately after being horrified at the words of hearing that guy essentially say, hey, buddy, I'm you, what then happens is Batman almost strips himself down, not literally, but figuratively, jumping down into the pile with the people in the water as they need the saving, and him extending a hand, and almost in a form of symbolism, the person who takes his hand first is not one of the older people or the mayor who he's offered his help to. What takes his hand first is a young child. I think it's the boy who's the son of the murdered.
It is. He's like
the future Robin.
Using that child as a symbol of hope for the future and putting that in the hands of Batman. He takes that kid's hand, he immediately lights that red flare, and in probably the best artistic shot in the movie, he has that red flare and is the point of an arrow as he leads the people of Gotham outside of
Excellent.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
Beautiful scene.
All that happens in like 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And
all that happens in 3 or 4 minutes, where he goes from realizing, oh, this is not the right path to go, and then he immediately assumes the role of becoming the Watcher or the guiding light for Gotham, even with the final voiceover of the movie, where he is saying, hey, Gotham has enough vengeance. Gotham has enough people walking around here being angry and fighting and causing a lot of pain. He goes, the people of Gotham need something else. There's enough pain and suffering in Gotham. People of Gotham need something else. They need hope, which is another acronym for, which is another symbol for Batman. He represents hope in some versions of himself, and towards the end, he realizes that's what Gotham City needs.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, this is the one of the final scenes in the movie, and before we even get to all of that, him just going back to that Riddler conversation with him, and the Riddler seeing that, hey, you haven't even figured it all out yet, because again that kind of ties back into, and I like that they kept on reminding us this is year 2. A polished Batman would have already figured out the bombs and got rid of them anyway, but not say anything. Go antagonize the villain, and the villain is running their mouth like, "Oh yeah, well I'm about to flood the city," and they go in, they push a button or whatever, and nothing happens. Because Batman's already figured it out. So obviously he is a great detective, but he's not 100%. He's not the polished Batman we know. So obviously the city gets flooded. He figures it out. He does figure it out, but it's too late. Now, all of this is going on in what looks like Madison Square Garden, with the mayor coming in and giving this big, powerful speech. And
that beautiful black woman, by the way, black woman.
Beautiful. And there's another section to all of this that we're going to get into it. But so, we go in there, and this is like one of the best Batman intro scenes, because now there's no theme song. He's not walking slowly out of the shadows. He's coming through the roof. The roof is blowing up. It's exploding because obviously there's chaos, there's flooding, there's snipers, trying to kill the mayor, which is, part of a cult from that the Riddler created. And, he's literally fighting them essentially with perfect balance. At least he has that down pat. Because remember, everyone was sort of tied to something, with the beam. So he's literally like fighting, getting shot, being flawless. And I'm like, and it's really grounded in reality, like we said, because, what can I compare this with? The Ben Affleck's Batman when he gets to the warehouse to save Superman's mom. That's a completely different, that's polished.
Yeah.
But here he's actually, he's killing it, but it's not that easy. And another key thing about these scenes, if we really look at it, again, another reminder that this is not a polished Batman, is they show a lot of the origin stories for the gadgets that he will use in the future. Although he doesn't have for example, the smoke pellets, where he throws those things so that the entire area, you can't see him, but he's destroying you. He doesn't have that, but he sees the fire extinguisher there and pops it open, and it causes that smoke. And he realizes, like, hey, I can use this to give me the advantage because I'm fighting like 20 versus 1 up here, and they have guns. So just kind of seeing all of those things there, I'm like, oh, this is why he uses a smoke pellet. Okay, makes sense. He's throwing things. I'm like, okay, he's gonna get the idea to make the batarang. So as he's going through, the final scene, I see him learning and picking up those things. But to go back to where obviously Selena has to come and help him now because he was about to get a shotgun to his face because that shotgun put him on his ass. He's not polished. And Selena sees this and she finds a quicker way to get up there than the police, which is funny because you have I think Gordon acts like a fire department, like a firefighter, which knows the building. Like, hey, get me up there, and she happens to get up there anyway. But anyway, she saves him, comes from the roof, saves him. She picks him up, and I like that they made her struggle to do it, right? Like he's heavy and he's wearing this suit of armor, so she was doing everything she had. And obviously, the guy comes, clubs her. He's useless right now because he's about to pass out. Like you said, gives himself the shot. He saves her. We go to the villain part. He says, "I'm vengeance." Another key thing that he did prior to even jumping into the water is he noticed that they were trapped in the water and that they were about to be electrocuted. And he literally sees that, and now he's getting better with the grapple gun because he uses that to swing, to the thing. And mind you, he knows if he cuts this thing, he's gonna get electrocuted. And it was such a touching moment. In my head somewhere, I knew like he's not gonna die because this is year 2, but I'm like, oh, he's gonna die. Like he's gonna sacrifice himself. It made you forget that Batman exists far after this. And when he cut it and it actually electrocuted him, and and then you see like Catwoman and Commissioner Gordon, they really, and everyone else in that building that saw, they was like, yo, he's really like he's putting his life on the line for us. Absolutely. He didn't have to do that. Which is why I was still kind of annoyed when Shells was saying, he reached out to the mayor first, and she completely like just shrugged him off, like I'm not taking your hand. And I said, Miss, did you not? He just saved you from being, put in a toaster, And I love that the kid, and if that was the boy, I didn't even realize that. But again,
I think it was the boy.
There you go. So, and that scene was powerful. But there was another scene as well where he was showing that I am hope. When all that commotion was done and they was on the rooftop, he was carrying that girl to the helicopter. And
best scene.
It touched my heart, man. And
that's when he's doing the voiceover. He's doing the voiceover.
And he puts her down, and the professionals are about to carry her away, but she's terrified of them, and she's holding on to Batman like, "Don't leave me." And at that moment, you knew he won the hearts of all of them. The minute she did that, it was over. I said, yeah, he's becoming the symbol of hope, and again, with the voiceover saying, I need to be more than vengeance. I need to be the person that they know that's out there protecting them. That's the persona that I need to give. So I definitely see in the future, of course, there's gonna be a sequel. I don't care what anyone has to say.
It has to be.
And to be honest, I'll go even a little further. That at some point he is gonna replace Ben Affleck in the DC universe with Flash, Aquaman. At some point, once he's become super polished, because again, you have the Flash movie coming out with the multiverse scenario. Yeah. So don't be surprised if they squeeze him in there because he's a much younger Batman. He'll fit in better with a younger Flash and a younger, Superman doesn't age the same way anyway. So because Ben Affleck doesn't want to do it anymore. So I see them doing that in the future. We could place bets on that.
I kind of want to touch up on that, man, because that's the first thing I thought about. I said, why are you introducing us to a new Batman? Especially a younger Batman, because we all saw the Justice League movie, the director's cut, where we saw the Superman, because this was the new Superman. It wasn't the old Superman. What's the one from what's her name?
Snyderverse Superman.
Yeah. So and then we saw the DC. We saw Flash. We have 3 Flashes running concurrently, and that Flash actually showed up on the series that's going on that was on the CW with the Flash, because there's 3 concurrent Flashes running at the same time, and then now you got to also remember. The younger Flash is joins the Justice Society of America, right? So there's JLA and then there's JSA. So those are the guys who split off from JLA, and so you have Hawkman, which we saw the preview for that. So it's definitely room for new Batman, but you didn't set us up yet because Aquaman's not fully set up. We're still missing a new Green Lantern to replace everything.
Wait. Who are we missing?
The Green Lantern Corps.
What are you saying right now? What are you saying? He's right here. You don't see the lantern in the background right here? That's him right here. My guy got the lantern in the background.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So yeah, he's still a little bit young. He's definitely way before Justice League. So if he does replace Ben Affleck, they'll have to drop at least another movie in between where he ages up quickly. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, let's make this prediction right now. That's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to, because Matt Reeves says he doesn't want to create a Batman that's in that universe, because that like adds so many elements and it wouldn't even make sense anyway. Again, this is why the Flash is going to have that movie basically where he runs back in time and everything changes. By the time that happens, exactly. And by the time that happens, Robert Patterson would have had maybe 2 more movies where he's older, he's more polished. He has the same. He's Ben Affleck, and Ben Affleck moves, but just younger. So he's not. You know, you get what I'm saying. That's how I see it going. I said the new Joker. I mean, they did reveal their own personal Joker. At the end of the movie. So let's talk about that. Real quick. How do you feel about him taking on the Joker film? I should just say his name, right? But I don't know how to pronounce it unless I just don't remember it. But
we all saw him in the Eternals movie.
Yeah,
he's one of the characters in the Eternals movie. As we move into talking into what this movie allows to happen in the future, like I said earlier, it's very hard for when you have a reference for a bunch of things happening already in comics and even in some movies, and then for you to do it in your own way, where it's almost surprising. It's very interesting. The way that Riddler destroys around the city and then makes the city flood, and then isolating Gotham City in and of itself, creating on October 31st another long Halloween, which is a historic Batman comic book strip where Gotham City is sectioned off from the entire rest of the world, and before help can get there, it is essentially just Batman, and it's this island filled with crazy people and villains and criminals, and he is trying to defend Gotham City until more help arrives, and that looks like to be what they are going to do for the next movie, making it could be called The Long Halloween. That would garner a lot of attention. Now, where does I saw an interview with Matt Reeves, and he's talking about, well, I'm not sure if the Joker is going to be in the next film. And I can see that, because The Long Halloween, while Joker is in some of them, there are versions of them where the Joker is not in The Long Halloween. They could save him as the crescendo. If this is a trilogy, they can save the Joker as the third piece in this movie, as the main villain in the third movie, and then make the Long Halloween the second movie there. You can bring in the owls, you can bring in a bunch of stuff there while Gotham City is isolated from the rest of the world. What they plan to do will be interesting to see, but the work that they did in this movie and how loyal they were to so much comic material gives me a lot of faith for the future.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do you think they would jump? Do you think they would really jump to the Long Halloween? Because again, I feel like the Long Halloween, he is extremely polished to deal with everything. So if anything, the Long Halloween would probably be. And here's the thing too. I know we had a Two-Face in the cinematic universe, but I really don't want to see the Riddler anymore. I think phenomenal to bring him, to redeem him as a character, to make him more serious on the screen. And I get it. At the end there was a cameo with the proto Joker
and the partnership starting.
Yeah, but I don't want to see the Riddler, and I don't want to see the Joker either, because we got him in the Justice League. If we didn't get Joker in the Justice League at all, like the new Ben Affleck version, if we didn't get him at all, maybe I would have wanted to see the Joker. But I feel, and again, obviously, we all know in The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger will forever be, probably the best Joker. No offense to anything else, but it is what it is. I want them to touch. There's so many other Batman villains that Matt Reeves can touch. We have Clayface. Two-Face was done, but we could bring in the Two-Face with someone else, because they were able to put the Riddler in, but the Penguin sort of played. It wasn't so congested with like 50 villains in there at one time. They played off of each other nicely. The Penguin isn't quite the Penguin yet.
He's still Copperpot. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So,
but Jimmy, you also have to understand. You have to realize also, like, with Falcone gone, power factor, right?
What about Black Mask? Black Mask takes over Gotham. Yeah.
100%. It could be Black. Listen, it could be anything, right? The world's your oyster. But if we're watching the movie, and again, what was Penguin's words, right? He was like, he was telling Falcone. He's like, yeah. He says, Falcone asked him. He said, "You think you could take over?" He says, "Yeah, I could take over." So what does that tell you, right? That tells you that maybe possible foreshadowing that, hey, listen, Penguin might be taking over, all right, or Penguin might be the dude set up. I'm not saying that he's going to stay there. Obviously, this is Gotham City, and once Batman takes him out, somebody else pops up, right? Maybe they're just setting him up for a spinoff, because I would totally watch that, because I think that would be great. I would watch a spinoff. Has it?
Yeah, there are 2 HBO Max series. One is Penguin becoming a kingpin of Gotham City, and the other one is Commissioner Gordon as he climbs up the ranks of the GCPD.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd be happy to watch a spinoff with Catwoman also, because remember, like at the end, they veer off. She goes to do her own thing, so she could become Catwoman.
She's going to Bloodwig, I think, right? Bloodhaven, is it?
Yeah. She said something about Bloodhaven. Let's talk about that. The final scene. I hated it. I'm sorry. Out of all ways they could have ended that Batman movie. I get it. Him and Catwoman are going their separate ways, and I understand the message there, where it's like he gave up on a personal life, love possibly, because Gotham is his first love. She even says it in the movie, like, "Who am I kidding? You're already spoken for," which is Gotham City. And he's looking at her in the mirror as he's driving the opposite way. And I get it. It shows he's gonna go protect Gotham, his number one wife. We get that, but they didn't have to end it like that. They could have. I would have preferred to see him doing something more like Batman-ish, like jumping off of a roof, like I don't know, anything but that.
Was that really the final scene?
Yeah.
Did that come after the Joker Riddler in the Joker Riddler inside the jail cell?
Yeah, that was the final scene, and then it went to the credits.
Wow.
Yeah, remember, and then it went to the credits. So it was sort of like, I felt like it was disappointing, because after a good movie, you hear the and everyone was kind of like,
give us a chance to do that. You're right.
Yeah, because we were waiting for the next scene. We were like, this is the end. I felt like that caught everyone off guard, where it was like, that's it.
I think what happened there was they stayed true to the comics, right? Because you have to remember that scene where they split up, they separate, right? Selina Kyle didn't believe he was Batman yet. She confirms it later, after years, when they meet up again. Like, oh, here you go, he's the Batman. That's how he gets that's how he gets the staple. Like, oh, this dude is like he's the Batman. She knew he was still growing at that point. You know what I'm saying? She cemented the idea, like, yo, that's the Batman. Like, oh, well, let's watch out. So we're still seeing that. Like, she even said it herself. She says, yo, listen, like
you can't do nothing.
You to protect. I can't sway you from that. They do meet up again because the more polished Bruce Wayne starts doing charities and so forth. And Selena Kyle, remember what's that scene? That was George Clooney's Batman, right? Where Selena Kyle walks into the room and is like, oh, hey, hi, Bruce, how you doing? And that's how you knew, oh shit, this is it right here. This is the connection we've all been waiting for. But I wasn't really disappointed.
I just wanted a little, because if you think about every Batman movie that has come out, in the end, he's doing something Batman-ish. Sort of like, what can I compare this to? Yeah. Like Spider-Man. When a Spider-Man movie ends, what is Spider-Man doing? He is swinging. He's doing his thing. So I thought just when the movie ended like that, and listen, the movie is fantastic because we don't even notice we're in there 3 hours. Everyone was like, it's a 3-hour movie. I was like, was it? I was so lost in the movie that I was like, 3 hours? I was like, really? Listen, I would, if that movie would have played another 3, I wouldn't have noticed. I would have just sat there, So
the other thing about the end of that movie is, even before I get to that, like the Long Halloween, whether or not Batman is ready to take on a crazy Gotham that has a power struggle within it, doesn't matter. We're here. Gotham is cut off from the entire rest of the world. Whether he's ready or not, he better learn quick, because that's where we're headed. They are in the Long Halloween. He's still a very young Batman, and it is true that does happen later on, but he's about to learn really hard and really fast with what's about to happen in Gotham City right now.
Definitely.
But also, like, it's cut off. That's also done as well in The Dark Knight Rises with Bane when he blows up the bridges. He blows up the bridges, completely cutting off Gotham again, turning it into a mad zone. Something that happens in that movie that also happens in this movie is almost, I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember Anne Hathaway's Catwoman somehow getting onto that island, surprisingly, somehow without any explanation. And at the end of this movie, we were led to believe that Catwoman somehow escapes this Gotham where everyone else is stranded. That's what they make it look like.
I think he blew a hole.
But we're left with the impression that Gotham City has been blown up around the edges, and that's where the flooding has come from. So now it has no way of getting connected to any other way of this. I was confused by it. I was like, wait, where is she going? How is she getting to Bloodhaven? And if she knows the way out, maybe you can help some other people get out as well.
Yeah, parts of the city is not. There's a lot of plot armor. There's a lot of things that they just let go under the table. But the more technical thinkers are going to think like that. Just like when Q was like, "How is he in that elevator if he just cut the power off to the entire building?" Yeah. So there's a lot of things, because I didn't catch that. Now the only thing about the Long Halloween part, I hope they don't do it too quick. I think it should be a nice 2-part, like, to end his, because Two-Face has to exist. He's in year 2. Two-Face and a lot of those villains are not even, like, they don't exist yet.
Harvey Dent is there. Because remember, the DA that's there now, that they had in the movie, Harvey Dent is his replacement.
I mean for the second movie, it can't be the Long Halloween, because Harvey Dent isn't Two-Face yet. You still don't have Scarecrow. There's a lot of people.
You don't need those guys there to do it. Again, there's been so many versions of the Long Halloween, but not because of what this movie does. It allows for a lot of artistic freedom, so he doesn't have to make it.
So you think
those guys?
You think he's going to kill again?
Make it with the Society of Owls. I keep forgetting their names.
The Court of Owls. The Court of Owls.
The Court of Owls.
The Court of Owls is going to come and get him.
You can make it with a breakout of Arkham, and you can make it with the other crime families fighting in the middle there, with Penguin finally coming out. So there are ways around it.
Marconis and
Penguin. You can make it with any way you want. Their way around it. But the current state of Gotham, we're in the Long Halloween, with them being cut off and it being October 31st. They're cut off from the rest of the world, and until and it's not like it takes weeks. The Coast Guard is on its way. It's just going to take some time to get there, but within that time, things are going to get crazy.
Crime is up.
Yeah.
So they did a great job, man. They did a great job with this setup, because again, they didn't just take. Remember, they took elements of The Long Halloween, but they also took elements of Hush, which is again
great.
Part of my top five. What do you call it? Batman comic book storylines of all time. And again, they also took elements of like what reminded me of what was that movie with Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt? What's in the box? Seven. Yeah, they took a lot of again. And remember, this is a new thing. This is like a soft reboot. So what you're getting is something totally different. They can do whatever they want. It doesn't have to be just boiled down into one thing.
Yeah. No, and I'm ready for it. I'm loving it, because what we've seen so far, it's like, goddamn, you can't even mess this up. But I wanted to kind of get to this right here, right? So this has been something that's been already on the internet. The movie is not even out for an entire weekend yet, but a lot of the things that's going around, and Shells mentioned this earlier, that beautiful black mayor. She definitely was beautiful. She definitely was powerful. And it was amazing to have her. But obviously, you have a few trolls out there, right? And this actually became a big thing where they were saying, obviously Catwoman, black. The mayor, they said they put such big and powerful characters and they made them African-American, and they changed it, so dramatic. Not so much that I care about their opinions, but I felt like, I guess what the topic is like, Batman tried to be too woke. Again, black Catwoman, the black mayor. There was another thing that they mentioned. Black Jim Gordon. So there was like, the Batman is a little too woke. And for me, I'm just like, you noticed that? Like, I was watching the movie. I'm like, I was like, huh? Like, skin color was the last thing on my mind when I was watching the movie. And, I was perfectly fine. But do you guys think that the Batman, and especially because of this scene specifically where they highlighted when Selena Kyle was talking to Catwoman, the Batman on the rooftop, and she was like, I'm tired of all of these privileged white guys doing, she literally says that in the movie. And that was
tired of these privileged rich white guys fucking up this shit for everyone. There's a lot of social commentary in this movie. There was a lot of social commentary in the Joker.
Yes, it was.
Years back. Tons of social commentary. The thing that makes these movies so scary is how close they get to reality.
Yes.
While Joaquin Phoenix did a fantastic job with the Joker, and the thing that was so scary about that is just how believable someone ending up like that is, right? Yes. Was just how believable that world they created actually is. With this situation, with what they're talking about with the Batman, hey, you gotta understand, some people, the best thing whenever I hear stuff like that from some people, my immediate reaction goes, well, what would this person be saying about anything else socially currently in our world, right? Once I hear that from someone, I go, well, okay, I can probably know or guess what this person feels about police brutality. I can guess as to what this person feels about voting, the Voting Rights Act or Black Lives Matter or anything, stuff like that. These are not people who are having a wide range of opinions on these societal issues or even on these race issues, to be quite honest with you. First of all, the implication that someone black can't be a super acrobatic woman who's trying to save her friend, or can't be the black mayor of a city, or can't be the black top end detective is a big red flag. Like, what about this is so unbelievable that
she feel the need to
whenever I see stuff like that, I go, oh, you must not know any black people if you don't think a black person can be a detective or a mayor or stuff like that. That kind of stuff is always super, super evident. It's not necessarily in what they're saying by asking those questions or by making those statements. It's more in what they're not, or in what they're not saying by asking those questions and those statements.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know what it is too. I think it speaks a lot to the people asking these questions. Right? Is Batman too woke? Right? Like, first off, we have to get this out of the way. Like, dude, these are fictional characters, right? That were created in the 1950s, right?
Yeah.
All right. You had a hold on the market, and you guess what? You created comics that, they resembled yourself. Like the characters you came up with. There was a big era where villains from different cultures, they were always villains from different cultures. Every quote unquote European character was a hero or something. And then in the late 1960s, 70s, when they started introducing like the Black Panthers and
Mandarin. Remember Mandarin for Iron Man?
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like, I get it. As a purist in the comics, I get it. All right, yeah, this character was originally whatever, but you never really get like a character's true origin, like, oh yeah, this character was Russian or this character was from this island or nothing. No, these are all fictional characters. And aside from Captain America, who's America's greatest hero, when they changed him, I was just like, wait, what just happened? Like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Those are characters who are rooted in a specific background, and that's what they are. Now, as far as Catwoman, Selena Kyle, we don't have a quote unquote true origin story for, besides the ones that we've been getting from the previous movies. Even in the comics, like, come on, why can't Zoe Kravitz play her? Why not? You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're really going for the blonde hair, blue eyed come on, like, really, like, it's a fictional character.
I think what they're really stuck with too is just, I kind of, and this doesn't excuse, their comments at all. It took them a little too long to do what they're doing now. So it looks like they're doing it to, you get what I'm saying? Like they should have already been introducing, but because Superman has always been white in the comic books and the animated thing, there's supposed to be a black Superman coming out. The thought is like mind-boggling.
Black Superman isn't Steel the
Steel,
black
yes.
Superman? Steel,
yeah, but
who was one of the 4 or 5 Supermans that emerged after the death of Superman?
Yeah. So for me, I think the only superhero that would be accepted without comments like this, right? Because I don't care. I'm not even paying attention to that. Would be like Miles Morales, Spider-Man. That would be like the only, and Black Panther, because technically speaking, they've been around long enough. Luke Cage, like those guys, but like big time, like the front runners. So the idea of a black Superman had people going crazy. They recently remember when there was like the Little Mermaid is going to be black. That drove people to. It was like, hey, Disney, cut it out.
She's underwater. What color? Like, there's no color underwater.
But I think it's because it took them so long to make those changes. If those changes, I feel like if they started implementing that stuff in the 90s, maybe mid 90s, early 2000s, it would have been perceived a little different. But now you have the Black Lives Matter, you have all this stuff that's happening in the world, and now they feel like movies and things are doing this to cater to those situations. So
in a sense, they are doing it to cater to cater to us. I get it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we got to make up for our past mistakes, but there's a way to do things and balance it out so that it doesn't affect the flow of quote unquote society. But that's a whole nother topic. You know what I'm saying? We here talking about
that's probably a whole nother podcast in and of itself.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's crazy.
We here talking about Batman.
Hold on, go ahead, Q.
Jimmy, to answer Jimmy's question, like, is it too woke? Absolutely not. The reason why I said, first off, woke, that was just our thing, right? Woke was always it was created by black people, adopted by the woke social media.
The
well,
woke
now it's used
community.
ironically. Now it's used ironically as an insult.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're too woke. But if I'm watching the movie, as long as the movie does not pull me out, as long as the whatever you're trying to say does not pull me out or pull me out of the movie, I don't think it's woke. I think Jim Gordon did an amazing job. I think everybody.
Jeffrey Wright is one of the best actors on the planet currently.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
100%.
I didn't notice.
No, but you know why? Because it was so good. I will say the one time that I got pulled out was when Zoe Kravitz said that. She was like, "There's a bunch of rich white motherfuckers that whatever," and I'm like, "Ugh, here we go with this BS." And don't get me wrong. If you want to say that, that's great. But like you're saying something that everybody already knows, and it's not at this point. You're just repeating something that you've heard a million times. And don't get me wrong, I have no problems with any of it. I think it's great that Zoe Kravitz did what she did. But like, if they're saying that Zoe Kravitz was too, was black or whatever, you forget Eartha Kitt. Back in the day, she played Catwoman, and also for a long time she was the best Catwoman up until Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Part 2 with Michael Keaton. Here's the thing. It did pull me out of it because I was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, here's a moment. They could have gave that line to someone else.
It's not even.
Yeah, but I'm like, you don't. But again, the movie was so like you were so pulled in with it, like you said, Jimmy. To your point earlier, the movie is like I thought the movie was like 2 hours and like 15 minutes long, 20 minutes long. When they were like 3 hours, I was like, wow, that's a testament to how good and how well the story was written. It doesn't matter if you are good at what you do, if you're a great actor, it doesn't matter. Nick Fury was always white, and then but guess what? I can't see Nick Fury
without Sam Jackson.
When I think Nick Fury, I think Sam Jackson. You know why? Because he embodied the role so
Good
well.
point.
If you do something, all I want for my movies is a good movie. I just want to go escape from my life, from all our lives. I'm sure, like with the BS that we see every day, the things that we do. I just want 2 or 3 hours that I could just tune out and enjoy something. Like that's why I read fiction. When I read my fiction books, I don't care about politics. I don't care about any of that. Just give me a good story. And that was the first line and the only line that pulled me out of it. I was like, oh my God. Speaking of the mayor, I thought the mayor. Here's the thing: the mayor didn't have enough. I didn't have enough of enough personality or enough character build to be anything. She was just the mayor, and all of a sudden she's just like the person. She didn't do anything. She didn't do anything, but automatically we're supposed to think she's the best person. Which again, cool. This is a movie. It's fiction. I'll suspend my belief systems to be like, all right, cool. This is the person that's going to help work with Bruce Wayne in the future to make a better future for Gotham. 100%. I'm down with it. But again, with the whole woke thing, I do think things tend to be a little woke. This movie was not it. This movie was just a very good movie. Yes, some of it, like to Shelley's point, it did fall apart in the middle. I mean, it did fall apart towards the end, where you're like, all right, guys, like, okay, all of a sudden, like, the movie was too long, in my opinion. That's one of my few criticisms of it. They could have trimmed it down to about 2 minutes and 20 minutes, 2:20, 2:30 the most. They didn't need all of that other stuff. But am I going to throw the baby out with the bathwater? No, it was a fantastic Batman movie. Probably one of the best Batman movies in a long time, or a movie with Batman, and that has potential to go further.
So you segued right into the next one, right? So how would this rank amongst other the Batman movies right now, I'm just gonna go out there. This is for me is gonna have to be in the top. If there's a top 5 for me, it's gonna have to be in the top 3.
Top 3.
And the only reason I say this, and it could possibly, let's just put it this way: if Christopher Nolan's Batman did not exist, this would be number 1. What I'm so conflicted 100%. With right now is because the movie is so grounded in reality, like it's real. Not saying that what Ben Affleck was doing is not real, and all of that, but the thing that you got with Christian Bale was like the fighting wasn't it wasn't comic book fighting. Like he was looked like a real people, real fight moves. Like it's not that easy to dodge. And that's what you got with this movie, but it was just so real. And that's the allure to Batman. And this is why I love him so much. And this is why he's my favorite, because he's human. It's not so far-fetched that someone that is a billionaire from the birth can go and get excessive training and actually be on a rooftop with enough money, have a jet, have a car with, with the smarts, have technology to avoid authorities. It can be done if someone really had time on their hands. But I'm going to say this is top 3, and it's probably going to go in top 2. I'm thinking of the Heath Ledger Joker and this movie here.
100%, number 1.
And because of that Joker performance, Christopher Nolan was great with this movie. Christian Bale was also fantastic, obviously, but because of that Joker performance and the Batman, that relationship, the way that you complete me, all of that just has to be number 1 for me. And this right here slides into number 2. It is going to sort of skip by for me. So this movie is definitely second best in my opinion. After the Heath Ledger Joker.
Real quick question. Let's see some consensus in the group. Is Joaquin Phoenix's The Joker a Batman movie?
Nope.
Absolutely.
Well, no. Well, it's not. It's not.
It's a prequel to Heath Ledger's. It's a prequel to Heath Ledger's Batman. That's how Heath Ledger becomes the Joker. It's a prequel. Was it better? No, it's a build-up. Go ahead, Q.
I'm going to say, to answer Shelley's question, yes and no. Because no, it's clearly about the Joker. It's a Joker origin story. It's probably artistically one of the best Batman movies because it's in the Batman universe. Is it a Batman movie? No. This is a Batman movie because it's about Batman. It's about the detective. Remember, Batman showed up in what? Detective Comics 30-3. That's it. So if again, and to follow Jimmy, I have it in my top 2 too. I was thinking about this. I'm like, number 1 would be The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger. But again, Heath Ledger stole the show. So that was a Joker movie. All right. I think Robert Pattinson, this is like the best version, almost realist version of Batman that we've ever gotten. That's why I'm like, it's like 1 or 2, but again, R.I.P. Heath Ledger. He's the best. Like, again, there would be no Robert Pattinson without Chris Nolan's The Dark Knight, because Chris Nolan wanted to do what? Make it a more realistic Batman. Yeah. That's why we wouldn't even be having this conversation if that movie never came to pass, right?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have this, we wouldn't have Joaquin Phoenix, the Joker. And again, I think Marvel does so many things so much better than DC. This is what DC does best, right? Your character one-offs and just these character-focused movies where it's like, okay, it's about character building, about who the person is, it goes deeper into the psychopathy of the character. Yeah, hands down. I'm like, this is my top 2.
I think with you. That's the one point I disagree with, right? For the DC universe, right? Because I'm a big DC guy, right? Not to be biased, but DC does lay some groundwork. The problem is that it's not on the main screen. DC does a lot of things. Like if you notice, they have series. You know what I'm saying? There's a Gotham series. There's a Daredevil series. What they've been doing over the past, 10, 15 years is they build characters outside, but then when they bring the movie, they use a totally different actor to play the character. And I'm like, wait, what happened to the one that we grew to love? But back to the question, right? How would you rank this amongst the other Batman movies, right? Every time people talk about Batman movies, everybody seems to forget the first Batman. You know what I'm saying?
Great movie.
Excellent.
Listen, nobody gives Michael Keaton his credit. Like, he paved the way for all the other Batman movies. You know what I'm saying? I can't. And the thing is that, can we remove Michael Keaton's Batman from the conversation and just says, all right, this is just the antique that we put. This is the antique we put in the room. It can't be compared to anything else. It is what it is. Because
he's in the top 5, but what's going to happen is you have to understand, at least from my perspective, is it's a generational thing too. Because when those movies came out, we were toddlers running around. I mean, we did get to watch it after the fact, and that's what was on TV for us, and we were like, "Oh, Batman," and it's great, and it's phenomenal. But as time goes by, with the advanced technology, and everything that they have to really bring out the movie, in a sense, Michael Keaton is definitely in the top 5. But boy, the storytelling and it's a lot. It has competition. I can't say Michael Keaton is. I understand who he is. It's the same thing for Superman. I understand who those guys are. They're the OGs. They'll forever be cemented. But it's compared to the argument of Jordan and LeBron James. We understand who Jordan is, but it seems like LeBron can't get past this whole comparison thing. So Michael Keaton is the godfather of Batman. We know this.
He's the MJ. He's the Michael Jordan.
He's the MJ.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So you can't even, you got to push him to the side. He has his own pedestal that he's on, and you can't include his movie because they didn't have the technology we have now.
He's still in top 5 though. He's still in top 5.
But they did have, it was a solid movie from beginning to end. And it was kind of long, for what it was. Pause, but the movie went longer than it was supposed to go. In my opinion, but
where do you rank it at though? What do you rank it at?
See, I can't rank these Batman movies simply because they don't happen at the same time. They're period pieces. So Robert Patterson, definitely, this movie is up there. I agree with you. Top 3, 100%, because it's a great origin story. It definitely replaces what was the other, whose Batman was that was at the same time? Because basically, Robert Patterson's Batman and Christian Bale's Batman is the same era. It's just that Patterson is a little earlier than Christian Bale's. He's just maybe a year before. A year or two before.
Well, the key difference is, I think, between those two is who trains them. The League of Assassins, Christian Bale's Batman was far more polished at the beginning of his career because of that training. This guy, Robert Patterson, Alfred trained him. So it's not, no disrespect, Alfred, but he's not him. Christian Bale would beat him in a fight if it really came down to it.
For sure, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
From their origin. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm happy you said top 3 because
top 3, 100%.
Trust me, I love Ben Affleck Batman because that's our era. That's we watch so much animated Batman stuff and see the way he fights and the people he's able to fight. And I'm like, Christian Bale is not fighting no Doomsday. He's getting worked. But Christian Bale's Batman, which another thing that I don't know if you guys noticed, but that scene where Robert Patterson as Batman is in that elevator hiding, that's the same way Ben Affleck's Batman was hiding in the beginning of the movie when he went to go
right. Corner there. That's true.
Yeah, in the corner hanging up. I noticed that immediately. So I feel like they pulled a lot of things from different Batman movies. There's other things, but
So wherever you rank Christian Bale's Batman, put Robert Patterson right behind him. You know what I'm saying? And when we see the next one, if the performance, it gets better, like if it grows, then
it's always going to get better.
You can put him in front. You can be like, "Yep, He's the new staple Batman, you know.
Well, when it comes to my ranking, I'll keep this short because we can't have a podcast longer than the movie.
It's a good podcast, baby. Great podcast. No way.
It's definitely top 5, probably top 3 for me. I already think that it's okay to say that this guy might be, Robert Pattinson has the potential to probably be the greatest Batman ever. Yes. Away from what you may 100%. Think of the Joker, away what you may think of Selena Kyle and Catwoman, Robert Pattinson and the work that he set up with this first movie and his fantastic acting performance and the setting. We're all very comfortable already saying that this is probably the best Gotham City we've ever seen. Yeah. And Robert Pattinson 100%. Has laid fantastic groundwork towards becoming the best Batman we've ever seen. Whatever happens with the Joker or the Riddler from here on out, hey, you can try and climb that mountain once you get there. But this is definitely a top 5, probably definitely even a top 3 Batman movie. And Robert Pattinson is a early contender for probably the greatest Batman of all time.
Already. So I think we're all in agreement for this next one here. Is there a sequel coming? Absolutely.
100%.
I was looking everywhere for it. They were saying that the company was like, listen, it's too early to even talk about that. We're just focused on how much we're going to make from this. And I'm like, shut up.
One quick thing on the sequel where I was talking about the Long Halloween. What they could do is just have the Long Halloween happen, and then we can pick up like immediately after that and then see how Batman grew during that trying time. All the lessons he learned, and he'll come out a more polished Batman. So it's true. We could skip the Long Halloween and then just end up on the other end of that, like maybe a year later, and seeing all the things that he's learned. So it's not a guarantee that the next movie is the Long Halloween, but we could skip all that and then end up in a place where Penguin's the new kingpin of Gotham City, and Batman learned a lot of lessons during the Long Halloween.
Well, I'm just gonna, I work with a lot of the executives there with Warner Brothers. And I'm going to tell you what the sequel is going to be. Basically, the sequel is going to be where he's actually taking on more Bruce Wayne now. Because you've seen him in the Batman. He's dark. But now, as you see in the end of the movie, he's like, I need to be a symbol of hope. And he understands that in order for him to do that, he can't just be Batman. He also has to help the city in the daytime, especially with this flooding. Someone's going to have to help pay for that. So I can see him helping repair the city.
Becoming a philanthropist.
Yeah, becoming an actual CEO of the company. Like really what are we working on? Then meeting Lucius Fox. Lucius Fox will eventually figure out he's Batman at some point, and that's where comes the better Batmobiles. The things like that. So I think that's going to be the second movie where he meets Lucius Fox. I think that's where it's going to come in real nice and mesh it in. The villains, who knows? I'll take anything, but definitely a sequel is coming. And then, I guess we could end it with that, because the next one was really like, is this worth the big screen? Because, some people with the pandemic are a little iffy, or just wait for it to hit HBO Max.
This ain't an at-home movie. You can't watch this at home.
There you go.
Go outside and watch. This is better. Yeah, go outside, watch this. You know what I'm saying? Have a drink before and thing. Because sitting at home watching this, you're gonna fall asleep on the couch because you already have an expectation. I'm telling you, when people watch movies at home, look, they're gonna have an expectation. They're gonna have the room. They're gonna have the lights dim. They're gonna be sitting on the couch watching this movie. And there's a part in the movie that might feel a little slow, but it's important. And then they're gonna nod, and then they're gonna wake up to the boom, and then they're gonna, you know what I'm saying? It's definitely go out and watch this. This is go to the big screen and watch this. Go so good, you know what I'm saying? Go support.
Agreed.
My only question is, when are we going to watch this again for the second viewing?
I'm going tomorrow. I already got tickets for tomorrow.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Bro, don't play, because damn, I thought you said you just had tickets to spare. I was like, yeah, I'm off tomorrow. I'm coming.
Oh no, I got tickets, so we're going to Nighthawk to watch it again. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, the Nighthawk, nice.
Because my kid was like, you went and saw it without me?
Oh.
And I was like, yeah. He was like, how was it? I said, I can't tell you. You know what I'm saying? He said, then you're going to have to take me.
Yeah. No. That's gonna be. Trust me. I that's one of the things I look at my mom like. Thank you for introducing me to him. So that's how old is he?
He's 50. Well, his birthday is on in 2 weeks, so he'll be 15. So he's
he's already acclimated with. Okay.
Yeah. He was like, that was disrespectful. You went out without me, and I'm very like when it comes to movies, we see all the like DC movies, all the comic movies together. Like we're very like comic savvy, and we're like in it, like So I was like, nah, don't worry, it's gonna be a good experience. We're gonna go eat and watch a movie. It's gonna be nice and like normal. But
beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing.
All right, guys. The good dad. All right, well, gentlemen, I really appreciate you guys joining me tonight, man. Again, thank you for the experience. Watching the movie with you guys was definitely hilarious. Hanging with you guys was definitely great, man. The movie was phenomenal.
It was great.
Go watch that movie. Do not listen to anyone's opinions. Go in there, manage your expectations, because I agree a lot of people went in there with the expectation because the latest thing that they got to see was Ben Affleck's Batman. So understand this is year 2, and it was still phenomenal. So again, gentlemen, I don't want to keep you guys longer than I have to. I know some of you guys have work in the morning, but it's been great, man. And I hope to have you guys back, man. No, absolutely, man. Listen, I'm the one that should be thanking you guys.
Great pod, my brother. Excellent work.
All right, so I'm